Morning, everyone. Welcome to the Sec 2 Science Revision. Before I begin, let me just do a little bit of self-introduction first. In case like some of you are like new to like Overmark, you don't even know like Overmark this tuition center, or maybe you haven't even seen me before. So let me at least like let you all know who I am and all. Before we start with the lesson. Okay. For online attendees, if you didn't collect the lesson material yesterday, because they were distributing it at the various Overmark branches, if you don't have it, you can download it by scanning the QR code at the top right corner. A little bit about myself. So this is my name. I'm Teacher Felicia. So you can call me Teacher Felicia, or you can call me Miss Er also can. So during the lesson later, if you have questions, you can call me, and I will try my best to address as many of your questions as possible. Cause for the lesson today, there's like many attendees. If I didn't manage to address all your questions, I will at least address it at the end of the lesson. This is my teaching profile. I mainly specialize in teaching IP science. In case you are not very sure like what's IP, so it's just mainly like the G3 express stream. So it's like just a little bit tougher lah. So it's just a stream where they actually have like true train program. So that is like from secondary school, they don't need to take O level, they directly go to JC. So that's IP program. So it's still secondary school syllabus lah. So I'm still familiar with secondary school syllabus. I teach lower sec science. That's why I'm teaching you all right now, right? As well as for upper sec, I'm teaching chemistry and physics. So I'm mainly based in Bukit Timah branch. That's why I'm teaching you all here from Bukit Timah. And for me, previously, before Overmark, I actually taught in another tuition center called the Learning Lab for 7 years. Then even before that, I was teaching in another tuition center called Wisland. And I also did like quite a lot of relief teaching at the various MOE secondary schools. So far, this is my track record since I mainly teach IP students. So my students are mainly, majority are from NYGH. I have students from like HDI, RI, RGS and all. And generally they all have been doing pretty well. And I previously also did teach O-level students. My O-level students also made like good improvement after they have joined. A little bit more about myself. So I really love traveling. And I also love to watch Korean show. So usually during my lesson, I like to bring in like K-drama in. Then my student will be saying that, hey Miss you have been like watching too much show, is it? Like because like I always like tell them all the like the K-drama that I've been watching and how it's related to our daily lives. As you can see, like me traveling, and then once I see, oh, there's a K-drama filming site, then I'll like quickly like take a photo. And while I'm traveling, I also won't forget about my passion in teaching. So that's where I actually was at Switzerland. So it's like at a very high altitude in the mountain. Then that's where you actually will have lower pressure than at ground level, than at sea level. So when you go up to such a place where there's very low surrounding pressure, that means like for example, like the sandwich that I bought at ground level, it appears that the pressure inside the sandwich, the air particles inside, the pressure seems to be higher than the surrounding because my surrounding now is at very low pressure when I go to very high altitude. So you realize that in this case, my sandwich, do you realize the packaging is like very round and full? When you know normally sandwich packaging shouldn't be that round, right? So this is like an example of low surrounding pressure at high altitude. So like even when I'm traveling, I still think of science. Yeah. Then for me, I also very like board games. So I actually introduced board games into my class. So I think you all can see at the back of this classroom, there is this like yellow color cap, with the sticks. So those that is actually wet heads. So I actually get my students to like for example, some of the things that is like important, I need them to study, then I'll test them during lesson. And then if they didn't study, then depending on their luck, because out of the eight stick, one will leak water. So that's like more of a punishment for those who never study. So this is me incorporating my games into my lessons. So those who studied, then very good, nothing will happen to you because if you studied, then you will need to pull. Only those who never study, then you need to pull a stick. So that's my students playing lah. Then some of them, they are so addicted to the game that like even like during toilet break or after class, they'll continue to play and then get just all wet. Yeah. Over here, there's also like the chemical formula card game, called the Ion. When my students played in class. So I actually have a full collection, at home, like a lot of board games. Cause my mom was like saying, is it you when I was young as a student, I studied too hard? Is it like I overmark, right? Like mark too much that like I deprived of playing. That's why when I grow up as an adult now, then I like buy a lot of board games to play. Okay, yeah, done about myself. So let you all know a little bit about Overmark. So no worries, you are in good hands today because Overmark is actually an established tuition brand where we actually have many branches, 9 branches across Singapore. Yep. So in future, maybe like if you need tuition, you can choose like a branch that you see like nearest to your school or maybe nearest to home. Yeah. So we are located at these places. So every year we actually have like 1,000 over students every batch. So we actually have been teaching like a few thousand of students across the years already. Yeah, and I believe most of y'all have been following Overmark, right, on social medias. Yeah, so if you haven't been following Overmark on social media, do hit a follow. Yeah, because that's where we will be actually giving like freebies. Like example, like today we are giving out like free revision lessons. And sometimes we also give like free lesson material, free webinar. Like for example, like upcoming there will be like to prepare you like your subject combination for upper sec. So which subject to choose? We do have all these kind of like webinars, sessions or like free giveaway. Yeah, so do follow us, then you can keep a lookout on all these announcements. Then for our YouTube channel, there are a lot of lesson recording, including today's lesson. It will be uploaded in Overmark's YouTube channel also. Yeah, so you can actually, if you're the studious kind, right, you can actually go to our YouTube channel where you can actually find a lot of learning resources. We have a lot of recorded lessons, yeah, collected over the years. Yeah, so if you need to brush up on any subject, you can just check out Overmark's YouTube website. Okay, then this is so far our past record, our past achievement. So just to let you know that you are in good hands, because our tutors are also graduated from like recognized universities. Yeah, and we all have like a lot of years of like teaching experience too. So as a student, if you are with Overmark, I think some of y'all might be already with Overmark. Yeah, then you will know, right? You'll get like all these perks. Yeah, so you get like a book of like curated notes where even though you might miss the tuition for the first half of the year, but you still can receive like the notes from the first topic of the year all the way to the last chapter. Yeah, and then if there is any WA coming up, we will also revise for your WA. Yeah, and then prepare you for any like exams through like mock exam papers. Yeah. So then if any questions, yeah, you can also check with the teachers. Yeah. Usually the students have the teacher's phone number also. Yeah, and we also do hands-on experiment to prepare you for the exams. Okay, so yep. Okay, so without further ado, let's start off with the lesson for today. So for the lesson for today, it would be this lesson material here. Yep. So all of you have the lesson material, right? Wait, let me just do this. Okay, so let's begin now. So this is a Sec 2 science class. Okay, so let's begin with the first topic, which is application of forces and transfer of energy. You found your ticket already? You should read it. Okay, can't remember. Okay, so for the topic on forces over here, first, need to know the definition, which is, I would say, not very often tested. Just need to know, what does force do, will do. So you generally, all this you all learned before in primary school, right? You can like change the shape of the object, change the size, change the motion, like make it move faster or make it move slower. Okay, then next would be that the unit for force, it will be in Newton, and the instrument to measure it is a spring balance. So spring balance is actually the one that you can actually hook it up to see how heavy the object is. Next, effects of forces. This part here, I think you all already learned before. So this part, I will just skip it. This one quite factual. Let me go through the more difficult part, which is over here. So you need to know that whenever we talk about resultant force just refers to the overall force. Okay, so for the lesson today, I will be doing a lot of like annotations, like highlighting and writing. So whenever I highlight and write, you follow me, okay? So that means my screen should be the same as your worksheet. Okay, so let's highlight the key point. So whenever you see the word resultant just means overall. So if you are looking at overall force, if the overall force is 0, this means that the forces are balanced. So what does it mean by balance? It could mean that something like that. Like if I were to pull 2 Newton to the left and then 2 Newton to the right, this is considered as resultant force 0. Because if you have left and right, wouldn't it like overall like balance off and become 0? So that's called balance forces. So take note, okay, one of the common misconception among students is that when they see the word resultant force 0, they thought that, oh, 0 force, is it? That means no force, is it? That's not true, okay? It doesn't mean that there is no force when resultant force is 0. There can still be a force, just that the forces are balanced. So you see this object, are there forces? Yes, right? You see, there's two forces happening. Just that the overall will be 0. Okay, so take note that there can still be forces when resultant force is 0. And next would be unbalanced forces. So if the forces are unbalanced, so it could be maybe like this, like one side 5 Newton, the other side maybe 1 Newton. So do you realize it's not balanced? So not balanced means overall it would be a 4 Newtons towards the right. So this time around we will say that there is a resultant force. Okay, then next, what happens when the forces are balanced and not balanced? So if the forces are balanced, then the speed should remain stationary. Yeah, because it is as if like no force, right? So if there's no force, it's like, object by right, if it's stationary, it should remain stationary. Or if an object is moving, by right is that if I don't have any like extra forces, if I don't have opposing forces, by right the object won't slow down. And if I don't have like forward force, the object should not speed up also ma. So that's why by right, if there is like no force, no resultant force, the speed should remain the same. That means stationary object remain stationary, moving object continue to move. So take a look carefully. This is another part that a lot of students tend to have misconception. So when you read the question, right, question says that the object is moving, right? It doesn't tell you enough information whether is it balanced or unbalanced force. You need to see the speed that they are moving. Cause let me show it to you. You see over here, they did mention moving. On the right side, do you see that it is also moving? Slowing down is also moving, right? So do you realize if they just mention to you the object is moving, it can be either way. So how do you decide which side it is? So you look at the speed that it is moving. If the speed is always the same, so the key point is the speed must be the same. This is balanced forces. But if your speed is different, then it is unbalanced force. So clear. So don't read that, oh, the question say the object move, then you choose like one option. No. Be really careful. Because when object move, it can mean either way. So look at the speed. Did it change or did it remain the same? So that's the main point. Okay, so now, so this is the main part. So just to check whether, do you understand what I've been teaching so far? So can you try out the 2 questions in this checklist right now? Yep, so can you try now? Do these 2 questions now. So everyone should be done by now. Okay, so what's your answer for question number 1? So what did you choose? You chose C? Yes, very good. Then how about the second question? Which one did you choose? What did you choose? D. Yes, correct. Anyone need me to explain to you how to get the answer of C and D? So all good, right? Yeah, so just mainly just take a look at the speed. As long as it's constant speed, as long as the speed no change, then no change, that means it will be 0 resultant force. Yes. Okay, so for question number 2 over here, same thing, they also mentioned the word constant. So as long as it's constant speed, that means the resultant force is 0, right? Because constant speed is actually the left side. So for resultant force to be 0, that means your forward and backward force must balance out because it's balanced forces. That's why you choose D where both numbers are the same. The forward and backward are the same value. Okay, so now let's give it a try to see whether you really understand it. Let's try out one more question. At the back, there is actually a worksheet. Yeah, so can you all flip to the worksheet at the back? Yeah, then can you all try out to do question number 1 now? Also related to resultant force. Do question number 1 now. Okay, then I go back to Javier's question. Meanwhile, you all do this question first, okay? So for Javier's question, you are asking, why can't the answer be A? It's because although there is constant force, but we need to see whether the constant force forward as well as the opposing force, are they both equal or not? So overall, we are supposed to look at the resultant and not just one specific force. Because remember, I was saying that, for example, like for unbalanced forces, the example I gave was 5 Newton and 1 Newton, right? So I can also say that, you see, over here, my 5 Newton is constant. It's always at 5 Newton, okay? Consistently at 5 Newton. And then for the leftward force, it's consistently at 1 Newton. Yeah, my forces are constant, what? But although my forces are constant, will the speed be constant? No, my speed actually changes. Yeah, that's why option A cannot be the answer. You should be more or less done with question number 1 by now. If you still can't solve it, means I don't think you know how to solve it lah. Yeah, so I'll review the answer now. The answer will be D. Okay, so why? The reason is because you need to try to find the minimum and the maximum. So what is the minimum amount of force? The minimum would be you cancel out each other. That means like one side you pull 3 Newton. Then the opposite side you pull with 4 Newton. So do you realize this time round what's my resultant force? It would be 1 Newton to the right. So that means minimally, it would be 1 Newton. Then maximum, it would be, I combine the two forces in the same direction, 3 Newton and 4 Newton. Oh yeah, by the way, do take note that whenever you draw, try to draw the length of the arrow to be proportional to the size. That means if your force is bigger, then your arrow length should be longer. So try to draw it in a proportionate way. So let me modify a little bit for my left side diagram. So 4 Newton, I should draw a little bit longer. So in this case, what is the resultant force? So the resultant force will be 3 plus 4, which is 7 Newton. So that means my answer will range from 1 to 7. So that means you should choose the answer from 1 to 7. So which one is not within 1 to 7? The answer is D, because they're asking you which one cannot be the answer. So my answer must be within 1 to 7. If not, it's... Oh, okay. Can I see your ticket, please? So for 3 Newton and 7 Newton, it will be in between. So most likely is like maybe my force, I pull it like that and like that. Yeah, so it's like in a diagonal manner. So anything in between, can you see? So this is 180 degree apart versus 0 degree apart. So anything in between, that would be considered as the in-between values. Okay? Give me a short moment because there's a link. Come on. You correct the people not supposed to attend physically, they came. That's why I what else? People next time if your ticket say online, you must really attend online, okay? Because you see now people who attend sign up for physical, I got problem with them. Maybe okay. You join the seat together with her, and I saw you one share. Okay, the this. The next time you shouldn't be twisted and not walk through, So this is really the last section. Next time it's physical, you must attend physical. And can I have your name, please? How's that? Cleonis. Vậy cậu cũng không có chị ơi, cái ý của họ không tháo của I sẽ đâu hoặc là đi. So, sorry, let me continue on with lesson. Okay, so let's continue on with the notes since we are done for this part. Okay, so on the next page, it will be over here, the different types of forces. So for the different types of forces, need to know that when you draw it, need to take note on the specific requirements. Number one, for weight, also called gravitational force, you always must draw it from the center. Okay, I draw it from the center, and it has to be vertically downwards. Yeah, so even if the object is slanted, you still need to draw it pointing downwards. Okay, then next, for magnetic force, it will be like either attraction or repulsion. I think you should know. Electric force, likewise also. So as long as it's unlike poles or unlike charges, they will attract. Then like poles or like charges, they will repel. That's all. Yeah, so it's very straightforward. So take note that these three forces, we consider them as non-contact force because they are happening without touching each other. Like for example, the earth, they are able to attract you downwards, but then the earth is not touching you. Same for over here. At a distance away, they can still attract or repel. Okay, then next part over here for contact forces, it will be things like normal contact force. So for normal contact force, it would be has to be perpendicular from the surface because even in the topic of light, you all have learned before, right? That you always need to draw in a normal. So then for normal is always 90 degree. So in science, normal means 90 degree. So you need to draw 90 degree from your surface. And this is happening only when things are in contact, when they are touching each other. Next, upthrust. Upthrust, it will be for objects that are actually in water. You know, object naturally, they will float, right? Yeah, so if they were to float, then they float up. That's why it's called upthrust. Next, tension. Tension is usually in string or rope. Okay, maybe let me just state it clearly. So this one is related to water, while this one is related to string or rope. So for string and rope, this is to hold the object up there because any object, if you let go, they will drop down, right? That's why the string over here is to hold it up there so that they won't fall downwards. Yeah, so that's the purpose of tension. Then for friction, air resistance, and water resistance, all these are the same type of similar forces, which is just to oppose your force. But then it is for different states. So like for friction, it will be like solid object. Maybe I rub along the surface here. Yeah, so solid on the surface, that's called friction. If we are talking about a solid, like maybe my mouse, I throw it across the air, and that will be called air resistance. Then if my object, I go through water, then it will be called water resistance. That's all. So it's just object going through different states. Solid state, gaseous state, or liquid states. Then friction always go against motion. So if this object is sliding downwards, then your friction should point upwards. Yeah, so just take note that for friction, the way you draw it is usually against motion, except two special scenarios. Let me jump a little bit first, okay? So let's go over to this section over here. Next page. Anyways, the top, I think I will just skip through because all this I think is very factual. You all should know, right? Like advantage, disadvantage of friction, and then how you reduce friction. I leave it to you to study on your own. Let's take a look at the more difficult section here. So for example, a person walking. So need to know that when a person is walking, if the person is walking forward, that means the feet is actually pushing backward on the surface here. Yeah, so if the person is exerting a force towards the left at this point of contact, that's why friction is towards the right. Yeah, so that's why in this case, just need to take note that friction oppose motion. So just be a little bit careful because it appears that the person is walking to the right, but then my friction is towards the right. It looks like same direction, but actually it isn't because to walk forward, you actually press backward. Yeah, that's why in this case, it would be actually still opposing motion. Next example over here. So take note, okay, there are two different scenarios. Engine powered wheel versus free moving wheel. What is the difference? For engine powered wheel, it means that like, like the outside cars, the cars that you take, or maybe the cars that you take to travel around, or maybe like Grab, taxi and all. Yeah, so all those are engine powered. So those vehicles, there is a force to make the wheel to turn. As compared to free moving wheel, this would be like wooden toy car. So if it's like a wooden toy car, then you will be like, there's no engine inside. So if you put on the rope on the slope, then it will just roll down on its own. So that's called free moving wheel. I start off with engine powered wheel first. So for engine powered wheel, it would be that if I were to have like maybe the vehicle like that, right? Something like that. Okay, so if I have a car that is traveling towards the right, then in order for the vehicle to go towards the right, it means that my car has to be exerting an engine force in this direction. So let's add it in together. So this would be the direction of your engine force. Okay, so with the engine force exerted towards the left, that's why you see friction need to oppose motion. That's why friction will point towards the right. Okay, then so this is, I think, pretty straightforward. Let me go through the free moving wheel, which is the one that is difficult now. Okay, so you just need to remember, the name is different, right? If the name is different, means the friction also different direction. Okay, so let's take a look. For this toy car, you listen carefully. This part really very confusing. Must pay attention, okay? So if a toy car is placed on this slope over here, by right, if my slope, just to ask you a question, if my slope, I put it to be a lot of oil, and then or maybe a layer of ice, super slippery, do you think that my wheel over here will rotate or not? If I put it on the slope, like that, the wheel won't rotate, right? So most likely the wheel will just glide down, correct? Because it's too slippery. Yeah, so you need to know that if don't have friction, the wheel won't even rotate, right? So now, how come the wheel will rotate? It's not because of engine. Because I told you, this wheel is a wooden toy car. Don't have engine to rotate the wheel. So what is causing the rotation? It is the friction. Because just how we mentioned, without friction, the wheel won't even rotate. Okay, so you treat this part of my water bottle, the cap here, to be the wheel. So by right, if it's a very slippery slope, the wheel will just glide down without even rotating. That's why now, how come the wheel rotates is because of friction. So you need to take note that the force present, right, over here, there is no more engine force. The force present is only friction. Since there is only friction, that means you need this friction to rotate the wheel. That's why friction would be the one that help to rotate the wheel. That's why in this case, how can my wheel rotate? I want my wheel to rotate this way, right? You all can visualize, right? So that's why my friction should be this way, because only if my friction is this direction, my wheel then can rotate and come down the slope. Clear? Okay, so now let me give you more examples. Let's take a look over here. By the way, if you're not familiar with Overmug, this is actually Overmug's mascot. Yeah, so this is Muggy. Yeah. So for Muggy riding the bicycle over here, so you see, this time round at the back wheel, do you realize got the bicycle chain and then he's pedaling? So it's linked to the back wheel. So that means the back wheel is engine powered wheel. Can you see the word here? Engine powered wheel. As compared to the front wheel, you all know, right? Front wheel usually don't have bicycle chain one. So the front wheel, we will call it as free moving wheel. In this case, always go with engine power wheel, because engine power wheel is usually what you have already learned in school, which is friction always opposes motion. So that's why in this case, you take a look. In order for Maggie to cycle forward, it means that I need to exert a pedaling force that cause my wheel to rotate in this direction. So can you see the force over here? This is the force exerted. And remember, friction always opposes motion. That's why for friction, it would be pointing to the left to oppose the so-called engine force or the pedaling force. That's why the force will be pointing towards the left for the friction to go against the rightward force. So let's label clearly also. So for the back wheel, what are the forces present? So the forces present here would be, number one, there is engine powered wheel. So it's engine force. Okay, wait, let me write as F engine. So it's engine force. And then next would be, for this engine force, there will be friction, right? To oppose it. So I'll write it as like that. frictional force. Yeah, so just take note that frictional force will oppose the engine force. So usually what you have learned in school is the engine power one. But nowadays there's more and more increasing trend of free moving wheel being tested. So need to know free moving wheel. So for free moving wheel over here, let's label also what's the force present. So in this case, there is no engine force. That means the only force present, it would only be friction. That's why how to make the bicycle move forward? Friction need to rotate the wheel. So the friction is to rotate the wheel. Because if the surface is too smooth, without friction, the wheel won't even rotate. Yeah, so that's why in this case, friction will be pointing to the right to rotate the wheel. That's all. Is anyone shaking the leg? Maybe can don't shake, thank you. Because the floor here is not a solid concrete floor. Thank you. Okay, so yep, that's all then. So everyone done copying down all the annotations? Done, right? Okay, then let's continue on. Okay, so the next page over here, which will be mass versus weight. Okay, so this part over here for mass, you need to know that mainly is like the amount of matter in it, and then it's in kg. As compared to weight, weight is like the gravity pull, right? So it's the gravitational force in Newton. This part here not that important, so this part I will skip it. Okay, then next will be the instrument to measure. So how to remember which instrument do you use? So mainly is that for mass, we will use electronic balance. Electronic balance is just your weighing scale. Like, you know, sometimes at home you also got weighing scale, right? But don't use the word weighing scale. Use the correct keyword. It is called electronic balance or beam balance. Beam balance is the one that is like the seesaw kind. Yeah, so let me draw it out for you. It would look something like that. Yeah, so it's this. Yeah, so this is the beam balance. So you just put on both sides. So to see like which side heavier, which side lighter. Yeah, so that's how you can tell the mass. And then for weight, you will use a spring balance. Spring balance will be the one with the hook. So it's usually like that. Then here there will be like a reading law to tell you like, oh, what's the level. So you just hook it. Okay, let me just draw it. Yep, so you just hook it to see how heavy it is. Okay, then next would be will the value change? So by right for mass, the value should remain the same. So even if you go to the moon or the Mars, by right the mass shouldn't change because it's the amount of substance inside. So even if you go to the moon, the number of atoms or the number of particles inside is still the same. But then for weight it will vary, yeah, because it depends on this formula which has a letter G. That means the weight depends on the amount of gravity on the planet. So generally, less gravity, then the weight will be smaller. That's all. Okay, so I shall move on. Nothing much to annotate here anyways. Okay, so next would be on pressure. So what is pressure? Pressure is defined as the force acting normally per unit area. And I mentioned just now, right, at the first page, sorry, on the second page, yeah, when we were doing normal contact force, then I was saying what does normal means? So do you remember? What does normal means? Like normal contact force. Yes, it is 90 degree. Next, what does the word per unit means? Per unit just means divided by. So that means if they were to ask you maybe any other definition, like maybe speed. So speed, you can say that it is distance per unit time because speed is distance divided by time. Or if I ask you what's the definition of maybe density. So if I ask you what's the definition of density, density is, you know, right, is like mass over volume. So then if I ask you what's the definition, then you just say that, oh, density is mass per unit volume. So just remember that whenever you see divided by, it is just per unit. So anyways, just a quick recap. Density, the way to remember is usually how I teach is you just go by this way. Can you see the letter M and V can form a heart shape? So that's why now you go with density is the broken heart shape. Okay, so that's the formula for density lah. Yeah. Anyways, here is pressure, not about density, so this one I'll erase it. Okay, so next would be need to know the unit for pressure. You can express it in either way, Newton per meter square or Pascal also can. Then this is the formula where P represents pressure. Pressure, I mentioned to you, right? Over here, the unit is Newton per meter square or else it is Pascal. Next, F over here refers to the force. Sometimes force you can put in as weight instead. Yeah, because weight is an example of force. Are you all copying? Yeah, follow and copy it down. Yeah, so sometimes you can sub in as weight. Then A over here refers to the area. Yep, that's all. Oh, area on the unit is meter square. So sometimes question, if they didn't give you in the correct unit, how do you convert from cm square to meter square? Do you all know how to convert? So if I ask you 1 meter square is how many cm square? Do you all know the answer? So how many cm square is it? The answer is not 100 because 1 meter is 100 cm, but I got a square. So how? Okay, come, let's go through together since you all like cannot really tell me the answer. Okay, so you go with basic first. 1 meter is 100 cm, correct? Yeah, write it down. Next, we have to square it. So if you square it, you square everything. You square the number, you square the unit. You square everything. Then now you can expand it out. You either mental sum or you press the calculator if your mental sum not strong enough. So 100 square, that means it will be 100 cm square. That's why the answer is 1 meter square is 100 cm square. So that's how you convert. So if question give you in cm square, remember to convert it to meter square because that is the SI unit, the standard international unit. Okay, so this is for calculation. But then for pressure questions, besides calculation, there are also sentence writing, right? Yeah, so for sentence writing, this would be how you phrase your answer. So you just need to make sure that all quantities in the pressure formula is covered. So maybe for the first part, you can talk about the area first. So you see, over here, they mention about how the area is. So take note, okay, that for this part over here, sorry, can you amend this part over here to contact area? Yeah, change it. Okay, so why did I mention that need to change to contact? Okay, so take note that you can use the word base area, you can use the word contact area, but cannot use the word surface area. This one will get marked down if you are from NYGH. Yeah, because my students did tell me that their school teacher will mark down. Yeah, the reason is because, for example, I use my water bottle over here trying to exert pressure on my this. Okay, this is my writing pad. That's how I write on the screen here. This is my writing pad. So what is the pressure? Isn't the pressure due to the base area of my water pressing down on this surface? So that's why pressure is due to the base area. That's why I wrote here that you can use base area. And isn't this base area in contact with my surface? That's why this is also known as the contact area. But cannot use surface area. Why? Because this is the surface area, right? This part also surface area. But does this part and this part exert any pressure? It doesn't exert pressure, right? It's only the bottom part here that exert pressure. The top over here doesn't exert pressure. That's why you cannot use the word surface area because it includes the on top, which doesn't exert pressure. Yeah? So need to use the correct keywords. Okay, then next would be after you are done with area, then you need to just make sure that you cover all aspects. So next it would be you can mention about the force. Yep. So for the question, usually they tend to change in the area. Usually they will ask you like, stiletto heel, lady wearing the stiletto heel, which is very sharp, versus maybe like wear sport shoe, that kind of question. Yeah, so just mention that lor. So for the force over here, if you want to mention, you just mention that, with the same amount of force, maybe because it's the same lady, so you can talk about that. But if not, then you can just link back, if mainly area is the factor affecting. Yeah, that's why the last point is you answer back the question. So what happened to the pressure? So take note, okay, the answering technique will be whenever you talk about pressure, you must always mention that pressure is always exerted by someone on something. Okay, so that's how you phrase your answer. Pressure must always be exerted by something on something. Do you see the word by and on? Yeah, so this is how you phrase it. Done. Okay, then after that, you just answer the question. Also, maybe like causing her shoes to sink into the soil, something like that. Yeah, so remember, whenever you have any explanation question, remember to refer to this answering technique. So answering technique is like answer template, where it's like a model template where you can just copy and paste into your open-ended explain answer, then you can get full marks already. Okay, so let's give it a try to see whether you understand what I've been teaching here so far. So can you all now do question number 3 on the next page over here? Question 3 here. Yep. You try first. If you really cannot do, then I will then go through. You try first. Yeah, so flip to the back for the question and do question number 3 now. To be done by now. Okay, so I shall start to explain. Okay, so the thing is, for this system to work, inside, do you realize they actually put in oil? So now my question is, why need to fill it with oil? Why can't I use something simpler? Because oil like very oily, right? Very hard to handle. Why not I use air? Can you use air or not? What do you think for this system to work? So why cannot use air? Very good. Some of you are like shaking head. Yep, you are correct. Why cannot use air? Why cannot use air? Ah, correct. Because
Is
it
it
can be
because
compressed. So that means like if you press down on one side, then the other side may not even like move up. Yeah, so that's why I need to use oil because it is incompressible. Yeah, write down. Okay, so now how does this work? It's trying to say that whatever pressure exert on the left side, it will be the pressure experienced on the right side. So this side will be left side, this is like right side. So what you can do is pressure on the left, you let it to be equals to pressure on the right. So what's the pressure formula? Pressure is force over area, right? So that's why this time around you sub in. For the left side, the force is 3. And the area they mentioned to you is 2 cm square. And remember just now I was telling you that 1 meter square is 100 cm square, right? So now to convert it, if you want it to be 2 cm square, we convert it to 1 cm square first. So if it's 1 cm square, then now you just divide by 4 decimal place. So it becomes 0.0001 meter square. And next would be that in this case, now if you want to find 2 cm square, then you have the answer already, 0.0002. That would be the area. Then now on the right side over here, since they are asking you to find the force, right? What is the force? And the force is letter X. So I'll leave it as letter X. And next, what's the area? Isn't it similar? If 2 cm is this, means 6 cm, it would be, you write it with the same number of decimal place. And now, can you do your math? You press into your calculator to see what value of X can you get. You try now. So what's the answer that you got? The answer is, yep, Kai-Xing is correct. Yep, the answer is C. Did you manage to get the answer of C? Then you just press the calculator carefully. By right, you should get the answer of C. Okay, right. Okay lah, then I shall move on. Okay, so back to the notes. Yep, I was at pressure. So next, need to also know that there is this thing called atmospheric pressure. Atmospheric pressure would be the pressure from our surrounding air. So generally need to know that, just now I told you, right, the example of me going high up on the mountain. So now, for example, if I'm high up on the mountain, you all remember just now what did I say? the pressure up on the mountain, is it high or low? Remember the time I was doing my self-introduction? So do you remember what did I say? High on the mountain is correct. It's low pressure. Very good. Why? Okay, so let's take this line over here as the atmosphere. So what is the atmospheric pressure? Is the weight of the air pressing down on us from on top. So you always think of pressure is from on top. Like for example, one of the analogy of pressure is your parents keep pressurizing you. Hey, this year-end exam, your Sec 2 science must get A1, okay? So isn't that like pressurizing you? So isn't that pressure coming from your parent is one generation above you? That's why it's from on top coming down. So that's why same for here also. If you talk about pressure, it's also from on top coming down. That's why in this case, it will be the amount of air on top coming down. So atmospheric pressure sometimes can be abbreviated as P for pressure. Atmosphere, right? You write as ATM. So it's PATM. So this is the atmospheric pressure pressing down on you from on top, which we will classify it as low pressure. I write shortcut, okay, because P for pressure, right, in the formula. So low pressure. As compared to someone who is on the ground, there will be higher pressure. Because can you see, this is the, can you stop vandalizing, please? If not, I'm going to ban you from the class, okay? Okay, so in this case, for the atmospheric pressure, do you realize that the person is like at ground level? That means there's a lot of air pressing down, right? Because got much more air on top. Yeah, so that's why in this case, for the atmospheric pressure at ground level, it will be more. So that's why it will be higher or rather middle, because the next example I'm going to give you is when the person is scuba diving. Yeah, because if a person is scuba diving, okay, pardon my bad drawing. Okay, I'm not trying to say that the person died in the sea, okay? Yeah, so I'm trying to draw someone scuba diving, okay? But it doesn't look quite like scuba diving. Okay, so in this case, what's the pressure that the person experienced? It would be the amount of air pressing down. That's atmospheric pressure. But do you realize there is extra liquid pressure? Yeah, so that's why total there will be two types of pressure pressing down. Yeah, so that's why the person deep in the sea should experience the highest pressure. Okay, because it's water plus air pressure, both. As compared to on the ground, it's only air pressure. Yeah, so that means, in other words, the lower you go, the greater the pressure. That's why actually for scuba diving, for us human, right, there is a limit to how deep you can swim. Because if you swim until too deep, right, then our body and all the lungs, maybe it will collapse, and then blood vessels, the blood and all will like, there will be some problems happening to our body, and the person can actually die from it. Yeah, so for us, we actually have a limit to how deep we can swim until. Okay, so yeah, that's all. Okay, come, let's take a look at this question. Oh, wait, before I move on to the question. So, need to know that a common application of pressure will be drinking through a straw. Yeah, so when you drink from a straw, you are actually sucking the air out. So when you remove the air from the straw, that means the straw inside got low pressure. And, okay, so let me just draw a cup, for example. Then maybe this is a straw. Yep, so what happened is that if you were to, drink, when you drink, you usually suck the air out, right? That means there's less air inside. So if there's less air inside, that means the inside will have lower pressure because no air. As compared to the liquid. Yeah, so in this case, your water is exposed to the surrounding air. So if it's exposed to the surrounding air, it means that there will be atmospheric pressure exerting on the surface here. That's why in this case, we would be having a difference in pressure, right? Because inside no pressure, but outside got pressure. That's why this pressure would actually cause the liquid to go into the straw. So that is how we can drink through the straw. Yeah, they mentioned here. We are reducing the pressure in the straw. And the atmospheric pressure acts on the surface, which is here, to push the drink through the straw into our mouth. So that's how straw actually works. So actually you have been using the concept of pressure unknowingly, which is through straw drinking. Yeah. Have you all finished drawing it? Yeah, so follow and copy it down so that you can understand what this paragraph is trying to say. Okay, so I shall move on. Should be done copying by now. Okay, come, let's take a look at the next question here to see whether you understand what I've been teaching so far. So over here, they show you that there is a diagram with two cubes made of the same material. Then the dimensions are different. And now they are asking you how do you compare the pressure? So can you all give it a try? I have a little hint for you over here. You can use the hint to answer this question. Yep, so can you give it a try now? Even if answer wrongly, no worries, because after all, I will still go through the answer. Okay, yep, so can you give it a try now? Yep, do now. So I shall go through now. If you manage to solve it, the correct answer is C. Okay, so let me go through now if you are stuck. Okay, so mainly is based on this question, let's answer this question first. So how many small cube can you fit into this big cube? So what's the answer? Correct, you can fit in 8. Let's write down. You can fit in 8. So that means, in other words, if you can fit in 8, that means the weight will become 8 times, right? Correct, because you can fit 8 in, it will be 8 times the weight. And since the smaller cube weighs W, if you can fit 8, means that based on the formula, P equals to F over A. Okay, maybe we do one by one. We start with the smaller cube first. So for the small cube, what is the things to sub in? So for the force, it will be the weight, which is W. What's the area? Do you realize area is this part here, which is x and x? That means the area is x squared. So now we know that, okay, the pressure of the small cube is W over x squared. Now we compare to the bigger cube. Yeah, so for the bigger cube, this time round, let's sub it in again. So for the force, it will be the weight, right? But then this time round, how many times the weight? We say that you can fit in 8 of it. That means this time round, your force will become 8W. Next, what's the area? As you can see, the dimension is 2x. That means the area would be 2x times 2x. That means this time round, you multiply together, it will be 4x squared. So let's simplify this fraction. So if you were to simplify, 8 divided by 4, isn't it 2? So it's 2w over x squared. And do you realize that this part here, which is w over x squared, is the same? So this one is referring to 1 time the pressure. So this one is actually 1 time the pressure. So that means they are saying that the big cube now has 2 times the pressure. Yeah, that's why the answer will be twice the pressure. By the way, this question is from my NYGH students, one of their WA. Yeah, so it's like during the school term test. Yeah, so need to know such question can be tested. Yeah, so if you do not know how to solve, then yeah, just learn from here, bah. So good that you all attended today, right? Yeah, so you can like learn some new things. Yeah, so let's move on to the next page. Next, it will be on energy. So for energy, it is defined as, wait, just to check, you're done copying, right? Yeah, because if you just write B, if you just write the answer of C, then you wouldn't know how to get the answer. So make sure you copy down the annotations so that you know how to get answer C. All good, right? I move on. Okay, so moving on to the next section over here on energy. Okay, so for energy, it is defined as the ability to do work or the capacity to do work. And the unit is joules. And there are different types of energy, which I think you all already know. So I'll move on. Next, answering technique again. So answering technique means like the model template answer. So whenever got explain question, remember to use this template. Yeah, so you should say as like, even to talk about heat loss to surrounding, you should say as some of the energy will be converted to thermal, maybe plus sound energy. Yeah, so this is how you phrase it. Okay, then next, the principle of conservation of energy. This one, I think you all should know, right? This one, when you do school worksheet and all, it keep appearing, right? This one, like, very high chance to be tested. Yeah, so please go and memorize. This one is, like, very, very high chance to be tested. You try do more practices lah. The more practices you do, you realize almost every question like to ask you, state the principle of conservation of energy. Yeah, so need to be able to write it out. So then next would be that depending on your school, if your school has changed to the new syllabus, because for lower sec, depending on schools, you are allowed to either use the old syllabus way or the new syllabus way. What is old versus new? Old syllabus, it will be what you have learned before in primary school, like this kind. Then a different kind of energy. But if your school says that no, you need to follow the new syllabus, you need to change to the word store. Yeah, so that means like instead of kinetic energy, it becomes kinetic store. So that will be more for compulsory only when you go to upper sec. So you follow what your class teacher say. Okay? Yep. So some schools would use the word like instead of gravitational potential energy, you use the word gravitational potential store. Okay, so take note that if you are using the new syllabus, then you won't be able to use the word converted anymore. Yeah, so that's why, but can only be, so this part is not suitable for the old syllabus. Okay, sorry, not suitable for the new syllabus. So if your school use the word store, then this part you should omit it. Then the rest are still the same. Okay, so next, let's move on to try out some questions. But before I move on to that, just wanted to teach you that whenever you need to do any calculation question related to energy, one of the possible calculation method would be, okay, maybe I write at the top instead, but a bit more space. Yeah, it would be, you can solve it this way as energy at the start equals to energy at the end. Are you all copying? Yeah, follow and copy it down. Okay, so why did I write this way is because the energy is conserved. That means at the start of the chemical sorry, at the start of your scenario versus at the end of the scenario, the amount of energy should remain 100% because not like destroyed, not created. So you cannot be more than 100%, you cannot be less than 100%. That's why the energy at the start and energy at the end is the same. Yeah, so this is usually how you solve it. Okay, so now let's give you a try to see whether you understand what I've been talking so far. Let's try the MCQ question number 4. Now, can you try this question now? It's related to the principle of conservation of energy. So I think by now you should have answer. If no answer, that means I think you don't know how to do already lah. So I'll review the answer. So the answer is, what do you choose? What do you choose? D, correct. The answer is D. Yeah, because as mentioned, energy at the start and energy at the end and energy in the middle should all be the same. Can? Done. That's all. Okay, let's continue on back to the notes. Good that you all understand. Okay, where was I? I was here. Okay, so done with energy. We move on to the next section on work done. Okay, so for work done, the definition would be the formula itself, which is just F times T. Yep, so it is the product of the force. That's why can you see force and the distance over here. But take note, okay, for this distance, it must be in the direction of the force. That means the force and distance, in other words, they must be parallel to each other. So that means like if my object is moving towards the right, then my force and distance must both be to the right. Can you see? Both are towards the right. So they must be in the same direction. They must be parallel to each other. So now I have a question. If I say that my boss say that, hey, push the wall. So now I push the wall. Then I push until, wow, I sweat a lot until my muscle ache and all. So is there work done? Answer is very good. Don't have work done. Because when you ask me to push the wall, did the wall move? wall impossible to move, right? So if the distance is 0, anything times 0 will be 0. That's why later when my boss come back, they will say that, hey, you never do work, is it? How come the wall still here? You never push the wall, is it? Yeah, so that's why when things didn't move, it's like as if like I never do work. Okay? Okay, so let's take a look at this scenario over here. So if they were to give you an object on a slope, and this time round, they say that they pull it up with 9 Newton, but then the surface is rough and there's friction. And they give you dimensions like 5 meters, 3 meters, 4 meters. So now if they were to ask you what is the work done, so work done is force and distance must be parallel to each other. So what is the force provided? Can you see that the force provided is over here, which is 9 Newton? So that's why in this case, for this 9 Newton over here, I'll sub in F as 9. So what is the distance that we should sub in as? Yes, very good. It will be 5. That's why the answer will be 45. And what's the unit? You can see over here. It is joules. Okay, then next. Sometimes instead of just asking total work done, right, they can also write as work done against gravity. So what's work done against gravity? To go against gravity means you are going which direction? You're going up, right? Because gravity pull you down. To go against gravity means that you are going upward. So that means, in other words, later for your distance, it should be the upward distance. So now you sub it in. So, you know, gravity causes weight to happen, right? Because weight, remember just now the formula, W equals to mg. Yeah, so that's why if it's W, it will be mg. Then the distance here, let's take a look. So now we sub it one by one. So we sub in m first. So for the mass, you can see here, right, it's 1 kg. I put in 1. G will be 10 because as long as you're on Earth, G is usually 10. Unless like you are from selected schools like RI, then you will use the 9.8 instead. Then next is the distance. Now my question is, what distance should I sub in? Got so many number. Got 5, got 3, got 4. Which number should I sub in? Do you all know? So the answer is, yeah, correct. The answer is 3, okay? You should sub in as 3 because you are going against gravity. Yeah, so if you are going against gravity, you are going up, right? What is the distance upwards? Isn't it 3 meters? That's why the answer is 3, not 5. So need to take note, you see. If your weight is vertical, your distance must be vertical. Why? Because I just mentioned to you that the force and the distance must be parallel. Can you see that these two lines are parallel? Yeah, that's why I use the number 3, not 5. Yeah, so need to be clear about it. Yeah, then include the unit, joules. Next, what is the work done against friction? So when they say work done against friction, it's just because, you know, friction always go against motion. So actually over here, right, you can just treat it as what's the work done of friction. So if you want to find out the work done of friction, you just need to make sure that your F times D, right? Everything in terms of friction, so that this work done will all belong to friction. Work done of friction. So against is just the grammar word because friction always go against motion. That's why they use the word against. So now we sub it in. So what's the frictional force in this diagram? So for the frictional force, they didn't show it to you, right? So in this case, if they didn't show it to you, then we cannot sub in the F value over here. Yep, so that's why this time round, I would modify it. So in this case, besides this method, another method will be I arrow to, wait, I have no space. Okay, arrow upwards. Okay, so another method would be, do you realize that this is a total work done? So total work done, like total energy that I exert, total energy that I use to push, right, and have work done is to move it up and to overcome friction, right? Yeah, so that's why if I were to have this value, this is the total, and this one, I know that it's to move it up. So how much energy it is that actually opposing my motion? So what do you think is the answer for friction? Can tell? So this is the total energy I exert, push. Okay, so if I push, yeah, then in this case, now to move it up, actually only use 30. Do you realize there's something that's missing? So where did the missing energy go to? So it is used to overcome friction, right? Yeah, because after all, with friction, there will be like thermal energy lost to surrounding. Yeah, so that's why the difference would be due to friction. That's why the working will be 45 minus 30. You get the answer of 15. Okay? So that's why the work done against friction is actually 15 joules. So there's two ways to calculate it. If they give you the force and distance, you can calculate. But if they didn't give you, then this is another way to find out, because the work done against friction is the energy loss to surroundings. Then now, if they were to ask you, can you calculate what's the frictional force? Then use this formula. Can you see? To calculate frictional force is work done against friction, you divide the distance to the left. Can you see? So it's work done against friction, you divide the distance. So let's now sub it in. This work done against friction is 15, correct? What is the distance? So what's the distance that the friction is like rubbing and create the friction? So what's the distance that the friction is acting along? Correct, it will be 5. That's why you take 15 divided by 5. Then force. What's the unit for force? It is in Newton, right? Just now we went through, right? Forces are in Newton. Yeah, then this would be the answer. Okay. Yeah, so need to know the different kind of work done and how do you get the answer. Okay, then besides calculation, also need to know sentence writing. Yeah, so you see, as long as it's explanation answer, I prepared nice template for you already, okay? Yeah, just use this template. Then you just put into the, based on the context of the question, you put in, and then you can get the mark already. That's all. Okay, so, yeah, like that. Okay, so let's move on to the next part. Over here. Okay, this one here is on the next chapter already. So today I'll be covering 3 chapters. So this is the second chapter on chemical changes. Okay, so for the topic on chemical changes here, need to know the difference between physical change versus chemical change. So first is that for physical change, I would say it's more like change in state. Can you follow and copy it down? So it's like change in physical state. That's why it's called physical change. So something like, boiling, freezing, melting, condensation, these are physical changes. Next, what is chemical change? Chemical change would refer to chemical reactions. So if you were to base on this logic, it will be easier to understand these 3 points. So for example, physical change, there will be no new substance, right? Like for example, like H2O. H2O, you boil, freeze, melt. It is still H2O, right? No new substance form. But if you let it undergo a chemical reaction, then you will form a new product. Yeah, that's why for chemical change, there will be new substances formed. Next, for physical change, the properties are the same because same substance, what? Right? No new substance formed. Of course, the properties are the same. But then for the chemical change, because you form new substance, it's a totally new substance. Of course, it will have a different property. That's why the properties will be different. And next is physical change is reversible because if you melt, you can freeze it back. But for chemical change, it is irreversible. Once you form the new product, you cannot form back the reactant anymore. Okay, so I shall move on. Should be done with the annotation by now, right? Okay, then next part over here, this topic got like chemical equation, word equation. So need to know that chemical equations are just rearrangement of atoms. So take note, atoms cannot be created or destroyed. Sounds familiar, right? Isn't that also the topic on energy? Yeah, so energy also cannot be destroyed or created. Yeah, so same for atoms, okay? That's why you must make sure that the equation is usually balanced. So if atoms not created or destroyed, that means the mass also constant. Okay, so let's take a look at over here. Like if they want to have a reaction of sulfur and oxygen, you realize, you see, the number is the same. That's all. Okay, come. Let's give it a try. Okay, wait. I go through one more part first. After I go through this part, then I will let you all try out some questions. Okay, so this part over here would be what are some of the chemical changes involving heat? One of it is combination. So combination would be where you have 2 or more substances combined to form a new substance. Take note that for combination, it must be only one new substance. That means I just use some pseudo example, okay? Like if I have P, Q, R combined to form 1S, yes, this is combination. Because you see, my endpoint only a new substance, only got one. But if I were to say that W plus, I choose another example. A plus B plus C, I form D and E. This one look like I combine, right? Because from 3 I combine into 2. But is this combination? The answer is no. This is not combination. Because you look at the endpoint, you have 2. Cannot. The criteria for combination is it can only be 1. Yeah, that's why the bottom one is not combination. So you take a look over here. You have 2, then you merge to become 1. So yeah, this is combination because the endpoint is 1. So just be careful, okay? The endpoint must be 1 to qualify as combination. Next, combustion. Need to know that combustion actually just means burning. Yep. So for burning, you would need oxygen, right, to burn. That's why it would be a reaction with oxygen in the presence of fire, which is heat. Okay, then next would be thermal decomposition. Thermal decomposition is actually just directly opposite of combination. They're directly opposite. Why? Because combination is 2 or more combined into 1. But then for decomposition, it would be from 1, you break down into many. Can you see? You start off with the word over here. So you see, it must be always one substance, you break down into many. So let me give you an example here. So maybe it would be P, you break down into Q, R, S, T, something like that. Can you see? One substance, you break down into many. This is decomposition. If you were to say that I have A and B, I break down into C, D, E, F. Wow, it's like I break down still, right? 2, I break down into many. But this is not decomposition because you must start off with 1. So only if you start off with 1, it is correct. This one you start off with 2, so it is not correct. Okay, so take note, both combination and decomposition must either start with 1 or end with 1. Okay, then next would be that when you break it down, you can based on like if you say like example there's a dead leaf that dropped in the forest or an animal that's dead in the forest, usually dead object they will usually break into smaller pieces, then you will stick in the soil so that the plants can absorb them as nutrients. Yeah, so that's why decomposition is the breaking down. And this time round, since they mentioned the word thermal, it means that you need to have heat to break it down. That's all. Okay, come, let's give it a try to see whether you understand what I've been going through so far. Let's take a look at question number 13. Everyone done copying, right? Okay, so can you flip to question number 13 now? Okay, so for question number 13 over here, um, let me see. I shall let you try first. You see whether can you get the correct answer. If cannot, then I then go through. Yeah, so you try it out now. By the way, sorry, there's a, let me see here. Okay, nothing much. Okay, can. Yep, so can you give it a try now? Do now, do now. Do question 13 now. This one not necessarily. Yeah. Can I get your name, please? You are? A, let me try that. A-A-R, then A-R-E-E. Oh, okay, can find name. Thank you. Call me mark attendance. Hello, can I have your name, please? Y-U-H, is it? Yes, found your name. Thank you. No, what's your name? I need mark attendance. A? A-A-Y. Okay. Then you are Cleonis, right? Then beside Cleonis is you are Megan. Okay. While you are doing your work, I'm marking attendance. So I'm going around to ask you for your names. And then beside Megan is Hai Xing, is it? Okay. So Megan and Kai Xing, because yours is an online ticket, next lesson must really attend physical online if yours is an online ticket. That's physical. Eh? But I saw that as you're Megan, right? Eh? Oh, maybe it could be that there are two Megans, maybe. Okay, wait, let me just mark the correct one then. Um, you are not Megan. Are you Megan Teo? Oh, no wonder. Okay, that means there's a few Megan. Then you are Megan. What your surname is? Cannot hear. T what? How spell? C-H. M-E-G-A-N, right? Your name. M-E-G-A-N spacing C-H-O-N-G. Why don't have Very weird. Do you attend the correct class? Do you register for Bukit Timah? Really? Because I don't have a name here. Very weird. Hmm. Megan, I directly register you now in cause I don't know why I don't have your name here. Maybe can I get your phone number, please? But you have the ticket, is it? Yeah, but I don't have it on my attendance list. Yeah. Maybe you just give me your phone number, but I just type it in. Yeah, so your phone number is? Oh, it's okay, like just put your phone number in also lah. Just to register. Uh-huh. Okay, can. Then continue on and you are how to spell? A again? D I T. Ah yeah, I found your name already. Thank you. Yours is a online ticket. Is it? Yours you got the physical ticket. Wait, hold on, let me try find. Oh, you registered twice. Got physical and online. Okay, okay, can. Oh, I think I know why. It's for another subject that is online. Okay, can. Okay, then besides Aditi is Rui Tong. Okay, let me find. R-U-I, right? T-O-N-G? T-H, yeah, I found T-H-O-N-G. Okay, can. Thank you. Then beside Rui Tong is? Hang on here. A-E, A-R-I-E-L. Ariel Heng. Okay, can. Yeah, I come back down first. Then you are? How spell? Uh-huh. Okay, can. Yep, find your name. Then your sibling is Estelle, right? Okay, can. Okay, then I continue on. Your name is? Lauren. Okay. Hmm. Why also can't find your name? Maybe Lauren, I directly type your details in my. I don't know why I don't see your name. Your surname is Kong, is it? Okay. Then your phone number is? Okay, I start from again. Okay, can then continue. One? No, the last two digit. Okay, can. Thank you.
Okay, so beside Lauren, you are how to spell Kay or Hay? Haley Singh. Where are? No, oh, okay, let me find. Haley Ong. Okay, yeah. People, you know that the question 13 got 2 pages, right? So finish both pages, ah. Okay, then beside Haley is how to spell? Gail. Yeah, okay, found. Then next, can I get your name? So you are Sarah. If I Yep, Sarah here, right? Okay, can. Then you are S or C? C. Okay, can found. Then you are DEN. Okay, can found. Then you are. Oh, wait, yeah, I got your name already. Okay, can. Just to double check. Everyone done with the question already? We done already, right? Okay, so let's go through the answer now. We okay, right? Okay, so let's go through the answer now. Then here's the answer. So for the first part over here, the answer is heat. Do you have the word heat? Can? Okay, then continue on. Next, you draw the circles, which is carbon dioxide. So you just need to count how many circles that is like appear on the left but didn't appear on the right. So you realize it's a difference of 1C and 2O. Then naturally it will be carbon dioxide. Um, Up to you. You want to draw linearly also can. You want to change the shape also can. As long as the C is in the middle, whether straight line or bend, it doesn't matter. Okay. Then the next part over here, as mentioned, right, in the note just now, we said that the number of atoms are not created or destroyed, the mass is the same. That's why you see the mass will be the same at the start and at the end. Just solve for M. Then the explanation would be by conservation of mass, because just now in the notes, I changed the screen a short while, okay? Because if you were to refer back to the notes, right, then we mentioned over here that the mass is conserved. Do you see this word here? Mass is conserved. Oops, sorry. That's why in this case, can we write down that this one you can actually find from notes page 10. Yeah, write it in. This is how you get the answer. Hey people, can you write the word notes page 10? Yeah, so that you can learn where to get the answer from. The answer is from notes page 10, okay? Which is conservation of mass. The total mass must be equal. Okay, so I shall move on. Is everyone done with correction by now? Okay, I give a short while more, then I'll move on to the next page. Yeah, move on. If you're not done, you try to remember the last few words, okay? I'm moving on in 3 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Okay, moving on. Okay, so next part over here, state one benefit and one harmful effect of combustion. This part, can you listen carefully? I got a student, the content, everything correct, but I get 0 marks. Why? The reason is because when question asking you for two different instructions, you see, it's directly opposite. One is good and one is bad, right? Benefit versus harmful effect. When it's two different instructions, you need to signpost, you need to have these two things. If you just write two sentences, then teacher will be saying, how I know which one benefit, which one is harmful effect, or is it all the sentence is all for benefit? Yeah, so teacher won't go and guess during exam, okay? Make sure that you must signpost. Okay, write down. Must signpost. Signpost means you put a sign over here to tell them that, it's benefit, dot, dot. harmful effect dot dot. Okay, must signpost. If you don't have it, you can actually get 0 marks, even though if it's content correct. Yeah, write it in. Yeah, remind yourself, okay? Must signpost. So combustion is burning. What's the good thing of burning? We need to burn like fuel, right? So that we can like maybe make the vehicle move or like to cook food. Then so quite general knowledge lah. Then for the harmful effect, it would be that when you burn, you release air pollutants, or you might cause release greenhouse gases, which may cause global warming. This part here, optional lah. If you don't have, it's okay. Then this one, you can change the word by. Yeah, so as long as you copy from the notes, will do. So do you copy from the notes? If you copy by right, your answer should be correct for this part. I moved out a tiny bit, okay, like that, so that you can see both. The final answer below, I just draw it out, okay, is this is the symbol. So for part 3 should be alright, right? They are both under the section of heating, right? That's why both require heating. This one just copy from the notes. Yeah, so if you got this question wrong, can you write down over here to remind yourself? Actually, you can find the answer from the notes. Yeah, so should have gotten it right. Okay. Why is it not what thing? Because in the notes they don't have the word two or more. So if you don't have the word two or more, it's also okay lah. But if you have the word two or more, also can. It's optional. The last part is okay, right? It's arrow, then plus, then plus. Can, right? Okay, I'm moving on in 3 seconds. If you are far from done for the correction, maybe you want to take a screenshot instead. Anyways, people, no worries, okay? At the end of the session, I'll be providing the answer key for this worksheet. So anything that you're not done, you just stay till the end of the session. I'll give the answer key. Okay? Yep. So then let's move on then. Okay, so continue on. So just now I was at the page on heating, right? Okay, so done for heating. Let's now move on to this page over here. So for chemical reactions involving mixing, it would be like, in this case, like you mix them together, then you form a new chemical reaction. So one thing that I wanted to emphasize to you is the formation of salts. Yeah, so cannot just write salt in exam. You need to write out, the salt is called magnesium chloride, sodium sulfate. So how do you derive all the names of all these salts? So I'm going to write it down over here on top for you. Okay, so can you follow and write it down? So for salt, how do you come up with the name for all the salts? It would be, you need to take note that first, salt is always made up of metal, which is usually cations. Yeah, that means positively charged ions. As well as non-metal. And non-metals are usually anions, negatively charged ions. So that means how to know if it qualifies as a salt? It must always be metal and non-metal together. So that means like water. Is water a salt? Water is H&O. H&O, both are non-metal. If both are non-metal, it is not a salt. Or maybe carbon dioxide. Is carbon dioxide a salt? C&O. C&O, both are non-metal. Non-metal, not salt. Okay, so to be salt, it must be like this, you see? Magnesium is a metal. Then chloride is chlorine. It is non-metal. So metal, non-metal, then it's a salt. So take note, it must always be metal and non-metal, or else it's cation, anion. Okay, so next is need to know how to write out the chemical name. So how do you know what's the chemical name of the salt? It would be, you always take the metal, or so-called the cation, in the in the topic of acid bases. Yeah, so you always take the metal from the acid or base or carbonate. So like you see over here, In this case, you will always take the metal. So the chemical name will be the metal. So this time around, you write magnesium first. Like over here also, you see the base. This is a base, okay? Because alkali is a base. So you take the metal from the base. So sodium and hydroxide, sodium is the metal. So you take the metal from the base metal, base acid or carbonate. Hey, sorry. Oh no, I read wrongly. Oops, over here is metal. Paiseh. Can you amend it? Base metal or carbonate. Because the acid will appear on the right side. Then you take the non-metal, which is the anion in the acid. So people make sure you amend it, okay? The acid should appear on the right side. So for the acid, you go and find out what is the non-metal. So for hydrochloric acid, the non-metal is chlorine. That's why you see the name, got the word chloride. Same for over here also. Sulfuric acid, the sulfate is then the non-metal. Yeah, that means in conclusion, for chemical name, it's just first word is always on the metal or the cation. Can you see? You write magnesium first. You don't write chlorine first. Then second word, you write the non-metal, which is the anion. So how do you know which one to write? Because now I tell you, okay, remember, first word metal, second word non-metal. Then when you go to exam, I think you will confuse already lah. So how to remember in exam? You use the periodic table to help you. So you follow the position of the periodic table. You all know that periodic table, left side is metal, right side non-metal, correct? Yeah, my word a bit not clear. Yep, so you just follow the position. So if metal is on the left side of the zigzag line, left side of periodic table, you write it on the left. Then non-metal is on the right, you write it on the right side. That's all. And then take note that for the second word over here, right, especially if it's an ion over here, need to take note that the spelling sometimes end with IDE, sometimes end with ATE. What's the difference? It is spelled with IDE if you just make the atom to become charged. So that means like when it become an ion, that means it's just like maybe chlorine becomes Cl minus. So that means once it becomes charged, so anion means it becomes charged, then you spell with the letter IDE. When do you have ATE? Is when you combine it with oxygen. So when bond to oxygen, you will spell with ATE. That's when there is a difference in spelling. So that means actually they are trying to say that sodium sulfate, right? The sulfate here is a sulfur with oxygen. Yeah, because ATE means got oxygen. So it's sulfur with oxygen for the word sulfate. That's all. Okay, come, let's give it a try to see whether you know how to do the naming. So if we were to have this example here, like what is the name of the salt of calcium carbonate with nitric acid? So can you copy it down? Then you write it out now. What's the name of the salt? I just focus on the salt will do. Yep, so can you tell me what's the name of the salt when you have calcium carbonate bond with, react with nitric acid? So you follow the rule. The first word, you take the metal. And the metal must come from the base metal or carbonate. So take the metal from the carbonate. So what's the metal from the carbonate? It is calcium. Then the second word, what is it? You take the non-metal from the acid. So the acid here, what's the non-metal? So for nitric acid, is actually nitrate, ATE. Why? Okay, so how come it is called nitrate? Why not called nitrite, IDE? Why spell with ATE? Why not IDE? The reason is because, okay, depending on which stream you are in, so the lesson today is for both G3 and IP students. So for G3 students, you all don't learn the chemical formula, but IP students, they learn. That means, in other words, for G3 students, you all will learn it next year. Yeah, because anything that IP students learn in Sec 2, G3 students will learn it in Sec 3. Yeah, so based on over here, right, you can see that nitric acid, can you see? Got oxygen inside. Then I told you, right, if got oxygen, then can you see here? When bond to oxygen, it will start with ATE. That's why for nitric acid, the salt you form, it will be called nitrate, which is over here. Can you see? Then nitric acid is HNO3. That's why you call it as nitrate, because got oxygen. Don't call it as nitrite, because IDE don't have oxygen. Okay, so that's the reason why over here the nitric acid become nitrate. Then okay, so I shall move on next. You all should be done copying by now, right? I can move on, right? If you're not done, maybe you take a screenshot, then I'll move on already. Okay, let's move on. 3, 2, 1. Okay, moving on. Okay, so next part over here, processes involving like this one I think you all should know lah. Can I not go through anymore? Photosynthesis, very easy, right? Yeah, photosynthesis you should know. This one over here is the X-ray film or photographic film. After you shine maybe bone for X-ray, it become like whiter part for the bone part. Why? It's because there is decomposition into silver. Then silver, like maybe my jewelry over here, my necklace, pretty or not? Yeah. So it's like silver is like bright in color, right? So on your photographic film, the bone part, like you do X-ray, it will be the brighter part. So same for like if you take photography film, the brighter part it is actually silver because of reaction with light. Next, reaction with electricity. So electricity can also do decomposition. So take note, okay? Decomposition, there are actually 3 ways. Number 1, it is through heat. Number 2, it is through light. Can you see? One substance decompose into 2 or more substance. And number 3, it is electricity. So I'm going to write down over here, okay? So for decomposition, total there are 3 methods. So decomposition will be number 1 is thermal decomposition. Number 2, it will be by light over here. There, over here, the light part. Then the number 3, it would be below here, which is electrolysis. Okay, so these 3 are all decomposition. You want to write it down? So you know decomposition got 3 versions. There, over here, can you see the word decompose? Okay, then next, what's the difference between electrolysis and electroplating? Although both are electricity, the top one is to decompose substance, while the second one here is to coat the object with a layer of another metal. Like for example, if I want to buy like maybe gold jewelry, then but then I very poor, I can't buy pure gold. So what happened is maybe I buy a stainless steel gold necklace, stainless steel necklace, because steel is cheap, man. Like fork spoon is also stainless steel. But then I do electroplating a layer of gold around it. So when people see it, they will thought that, oh, I'm wearing very thick gold necklace, then can flex, maybe something like that. Yeah, so electroplating is just coat with a layer of metal. Next, oxidation, nothing much. It's just reacting with oxygen. That's all. Okay, so this part over here will be only for IP students as mentioned. So IP students, you are required to go and study this whole table, okay? Because you need this to write out your chemical equation. Yeah, so please go and study this. Okay, so I will move on. Because these are just facts, nothing much to understand. So I will leave it to you to study it on your own. Okay, so next part over here would be acids and alkalis. So need to know that for acids, you can tell what acid is, right? Because acid is just substances that produces H plus ions. So it's very straightforward. So like example, HCl or like maybe like hydrochloric acid, right? Hydrochloric acid, I got hydrogen. So usually acid will have H plus ions. Then how about alkalis? Alkalis will usually be either metal combined with oxygen, or else it is metal combined with hydroxide. Hydroxide means OH lah. Yeah, so I write down over here, okay? Hydroxide is actually OH, which has a charge lah actually. So take note that only when water is present, since this one is not inside your notes, can you add it in? So take note, okay, only when water is present, then you will then be acidic or alkali. That means if it is dry, it is not acidic or alkali. So you see, they wrote here, dry litmus paper won't change the color of the litmus paper. Okay, so then next would be that for the properties need to know. So for acids, it tastes sour, can conduct electricity. When it's concentrated, of course, it will damage the skin. Yeah, so but usually in schools they give you the dilute one, so it's okay. So alkali also, the very, very strong soap, like bleach, right, to like, make your toilet bowl really sparkling white, right? Those are actually very strong. It will cause like your skin to become like itchy. Okay, then next is litmus paper. So try to remember as acid is very dangerous. That's why the color you want to relate it with, it would be the red color because red color is always the danger color. Okay, so let me just the way I usually teach my students to remember is I will usually show them this image of in India, right? The law is very biased towards the males. That means it's disadvantage for females. That's why actually India is the country with the highest rape case in the whole world. Every day got female very sadly get raped. Yeah, so then the law is so against female that, like, for example, the husband will be saying that, oh, why are you looking at why are you talking to your male neighbor? And then like that, right, means you must be like having an affair, is it? Then it must be you too pretty. Then they pour acid on their wife face. So you see, like their face would be like it's a lot. Like you see, sometimes they will say that where you looking at, you see wrong face, is it? They will like dig out the eye and stuff. Yeah. So you see, it's like there are a lot of acid attack victims. Yeah, that's why nowadays like there are a lot of women like trying to like the International Women's Day they are trying to fight for their rights, but the law is still very biased towards the guys. So that means the guys they that harm their wife, right? They actually just get fined like maybe few $100. That's it, like they won't feel the pain, ma. That's why they will commit crimes. That's why rape cases are so high. So be grateful, okay, that you are in Singapore. It's a very safe nation. Yeah, so don't every time complain like unhappy with life. Yeah, actually there are countries out there that are worse. Yeah, lor. So based on what I've just shown you over here, what I wanted to show you is that acid is very dangerous. So whenever it's danger, what's the color for danger? Red, correct. That's why you link it to over here, lor. Acid is red. Because just now I showed you was acid attack on the India lady's face. Okay, so think of red. Then alkalis is usually found in soap. And whenever you shower, you use soap, right? And when you step out of the shower, don't you feel cooling? That's why you think of cool colors. Oh. So cool colors will be like blue color. And then the ions present, you should know by now, and some of the common examples lah. Okay, so let's now give it a try with question number 14 now. Okay, so for question number 14 over here, let's see. Okay, so this one, right? Can you all give it a try now to see whether you know how to do it? Oh yeah, I just realized actually question 14, right? You still need the information of the bottom half of that page. Sorry, I haven't finished going through. Yeah, so you also need to have this information. This one, I think you already know from school, right? So this one, nothing new. This one, I leave it to you to study on your own, can? You also need to know the chemical equation, observation, and the test for gas. This part, please study. This one very commonly tested. This one need to know, okay? This table. Yeah, you realize later the question you do also. Yeah, so can you put a star to remind yourself? Please go and study, okay? And how to remember all these equations? I got a mnemonic here to help you remember. Can you see the first alphabet over here? So how to remember the acid plus metal, you get salt and hydrogen gas? You go by the mnemonic called MASH. Can you see? Ma form SH. Can you see? Ma. Metal acid form salt and hydrogen gas. So I think usually in school, teacher only just tell you memorize, but they never teach you how to memorize, right? So usually at tuition, this is how I usually teach my students. I'll find ways to help them to make studying easier by using like mnemonics. Over here also, acid plus carbonate. How to remember that it is a salt, carbon dioxide, and water, you go by C for carbonate, A for acid, S for salt, water is H2O. Do you realize it's cash? So cash and carbonate confirm form carbon dioxide. So that's how you remember. Ca form S, H2O, and CO2. Then the last one, also same thing, you can go with the first alphabet. So this is Ba. So Ba means that you can form base plus acid, you will form salt plus H2O. Bash. Alright, bash people up. Bash. Okay? Yeah, so this is how you can remember the equations. And then take note, okay, that whenever you have a metal, make sure that the metal cannot be unreactive metals, because unreactive metals do not react. If the unreactive metals don't react, how you even have reaction? So must remember that the unreactive metals are copper, silver, gold, platinum. How to remember? You know, copper is usually used in electrical wires. And electrical wires, for example, like over here at OVERMUGGED, you see got ceiling lights and all. It must mean that the electricity went through the wall, go up to the ceiling, right? So how often can I change wires? It's very hard to change because it's inside the wall, correct? So the thing is, I need to make sure that the metal is unreactive so that it can be there for like even decades, that the wire is still intact. Yeah, that's why because it's in electrical wires, it should be unreactive. That's why we call it as copper wires. Copper wires are unreactive, it can last for decades. Next, for silver, gold, and platinum, right? These three are usually used in jewelry making. Silver and gold, I think you know very common. Platinum you less heard of is because platinum is the most unreactive among the four of them. That means platinum actually can last the longest in terms of jewelry. That's why it's very, very expensive. So less people are able to afford it. So that's why platinum you might not have heard of it as jewelry. But silver and gold are more affordable. Yeah, that's why you do hear it more common. No? So jewelry making, it has to be unreactive because the person buy the jewelry, you don't want the person to go shower or maybe go for camp or what, then after that got rain and all, then after that it react, then becomes something else. No, right? You want the jewelry to stay intact, right? That's why it has to be unreactive metal. And that's all. The rest, I think you all should know lah, like how to test for hydrogen gas. Take note, okay, must have the inverted commas. Yep. And all. Yep. So you just study it on your own. Okay, so make sure you study this are very often tested, okay? Must know. Yep. Then can once you are done noting down over here on this page, can you start to do question number 14? So for question number 14, you realize that the questions start to differentiate already. So you see, if you are IT students or if you are from Cat High and MGS, then you do the second version. Then if you are just G3 students, then you do the first version. Okay, so that's why for A part 1 got 2 version. A part 2 also got 2 version. You do the appropriate version will do. Do now, do now. There's 2 pages, okay, for this question. Then once you're finish the question here, if you need go for a toilet break, you can go for a toilet break. So we will resume and go through the answer at 12 p.m. Yep. So make sure you finish this question, then go toilet, okay? Yep. So I will start to go through the answer at 12 p.m. So yep, you do your work and then plus toilet break now. So let me come back to address the questions of the online attendees. So Javier is asking about which page, may I know? Twenty-five. 25. 25? But I am only at here, what, isn't it? Like I only teach until page 11. How come you got page 25 one? Oh, you mean the worksheet, is it? But worksheet, let me see. Oh yeah, yeah, worksheet has page number also. Sorry. Page 25 here, okay. And which part are you referring to? Oh, this one here, is it? The product B. Oh, because once you see 2 oxygen and 1 carbon, you should know that it's carbon dioxide. Yeah, that's why carbon dioxide is always C is in the middle. Yeah, so this is the standard drawing for carbon dioxide. Same for water. Water is H2O. So the 2H you put at the side. The more unique one you put in the center. So for Evan's question, you are asking about calcium nitrate. Oh, you mean the word example that I was giving just now, is it? So what do you mean by versus doesn't? I don't quite understand what you are trying to ask. Also, your school doesn't do the chemical name, is it? If your school don't do chemical name, then you just skip it, lor. Yeah, because most schools do chemical name for Sec 2. Yeah. Okay, so actually also depends because IP means that independent schools has the capacity to decide what is included in the IP syllabus. Yeah, because you are independent school, the school can decide independently. Yeah, so that's why the depth is taught differently. Yeah, so I would say that like for some schools, their IP syllabus is way more difficult. Like for example, like Temasek Junior College, secondary school students, or the things they learn is super, super difficult. It's like one of the toughest IP syllabus. But then maybe if I compare it with maybe Cedar Girls, River Valley High School, yeah, then those their IP syllabus is more like the G3 stream. Yeah, so that's why it's like depending on your school. If your school doesn't cover chemical formula, then it's okay lah, then don't need to know. Yeah. So different school teach different range and depth for IP syllabus. So for Javier, you want to draw the molecular structure, or your school learn chem bonding, is it? So if it's chem bonding, then it will be this for carbon dioxide. Yeah, because carbon is group 4. If you are in group 4, means you need 4 electrons. You need 4, you share 4. Then oxygen is you need 2, you share 2. So how many you need? Number of electrons needed would be equals to number of electrons shared for covalent substances. So for the student whose name is a full stop, you are talking about nitrite. Nitrite, very rare schools test on it. So if your school testing on ITE, right, you just need to minus 1 oxygen. That means like you just need to study the chemical formula of nitrate, sulfate. Yep. So once you know the chemical formula of nitrate and sulfate, right, you just minus 1 oxygen. So that means NO3 minus. Now if it's nitrite, right, nitrite, it becomes O2 minus, just minus 1 oxygen. Same for sulfate and sulfite also. So you just always need to minus 1 oxygen, you can get ITE. That's all. Yeah, so this is a shortcut that I usually teach my students. Yeah. So Javier, this question is asking for representation, but your question you're asking me structure ma. So this is molecular structure. But if it's molecular representation, then this is how they do it, man. Molecular representation, which is in circles. Then you draw it in circles. So that's why just now the answer that I reviewed during lesson, it was this. Anyone else physically got any questions to ask? You want me to clarify with you now? Any questions? All good. Oh yeah, the snacks there is free to take. Yeah. So if you're not sure, yeah, you want you can go and take it. Yeah, it's you all can take and then eat during lesson time. Yeah, so this is one of the benefits in Overmark that we actually have free flow snacks. Yeah. Then if any of you need the toilet, it's all the way inside. Yeah, but there's only one toilet lah, so you all need to queue up to take turn to go to the toilet. You all know that question 14 itself also 2 pages, right? So make sure you finish up both pages. Okay, since it's 12 o'clock, let's resume with lesson now. Okay, so can you all check your answers now? Yep, so this is the answer. So if you are from these schools, then you are supposed to learn chemical formula, then you write this. But if your school say don't need to learn how to write chemical formula, then you should fall. Most majority of you should be doing A, the top part one. Yep. So read the question carefully. What did they say? They say that it is a reaction of acid and carbonate. So that's why it must be an acid and carbonate. Must follow the instruction. Then next would be the word equation. Remember just now I went through with you how to derive the chemical formula for the salt. It's always follow the periodic table sequence. Metals on the left, non-metals on the right. Can I scroll down a little bit? Everyone should be done with A part 1, right? Like the part 1, can I? And this one also, right? I move on to part 2, can? Anyways, no worries. As I mentioned, I'll be giving the answer key at the end of the session. Just need to stay till the end. I'll give you the answer key. Okay? Yep. So you just check whatever you can first. Okay. So take note, okay, that the equation must be balanced. So for those of you who need to learn chemical equation, make sure that the equation is balanced. Then for this part over here, take note that whenever you have metal, metal means that you need to do the cross product. Meaning Mg, you write down the charge, chlorine, you write the charge, then you do the cross. So you need to times 2 and times 1. So that you see, 2 plus and 2 minus, they will balance out. Okay, so that's why the answer is MgCl2. The next part over here, do you copy from the notes? This is from notes page 11. Just copy the whole chunk in, full marks liao. Yeah, so remember to refer to the notes. Yeah, so this one actually should have spot lah. So part 3 by right should not need to do correction. And then just take note, okay, that for chemical equations, always use arrow, don't use equal sign. If your equal sign is wrong. Yeah, this is not math, this is chemistry. Chemistry use arrow. Yeah, then again, this one is only for Cat High, MGS, and IP students lah. So if you are G3 students, you just need to write the word equation will do. This one will be taught to you in upper sec. Okay, so I shall move on. If you're not done with part 3, can you just write down like notes page 11? Then later at your own time at home, you just copy from notes page 11, can? Anyways, I'll give the answer key also. So I'll move on already. Okay, then on the next part over here, the answer is physical change. Do you know that you can actually find the answer from notes page 8? You can refer to note page 8. You realize that they will mention to you that what's physical change. Remember, I had a table. So the table actually say that there is no new substance form. I was telling you, like physical change is like the change in physical states. When you have H2O, you boil, freeze, melt, no new substance form. Okay, so this will be the answer. Because it must be linked to the information given above. Yeah, so out of the table, the suitable answer will be this. No new substance is formed. Okay, I shall move on. If you're not done, can you just copy from note page 8? It's exactly the same from there. Okay, I shall move on. Okay, so for the flow chart over here, can you let me know which one y'all couldn't get the answer? So for lower sec, by right, for most schools, you write iron sulfate, it is acceptable. But if your school is the kind that they teach you the super accurate, the upper sec standard kind, right, for IP students, then you need to include the Roman numeral. Yep, so this time round, if you want to write iron 3 or iron 2, actually both are acceptable for lower sec IP students. If your school teacher say need the Roman numeral. Yeah, but if not, this one is okay. So lower sec, they are more lenient in the market. So how? Which one you want me to explain to you? P, Q, or S, or T? Because if you don't ask, I'll move on. I take it that you really understand how to get though. So how? Which one you want me to explain to you? If not, I already move on. So how? Any of it? Look online. If you want me to go through, I can go through also. Okay, I'll go through S and T. Okay, so how to get gas S over here? It will be that because can you see this is an acid and metal? So if it's acid and metal, isn't it the mnemonic called M and A? So this will give you MaSH2. That's why you will get hydrogen gas. Then the next part here, solution T, you just write out the equation. So this is sulfuric acid plus zinc. Then what's the salt that you get? Remember, I told you the salt is always the metal from the metal base or carbonate. That's why you write zinc. And then the anion or the non-metal, you take from the acid. So for sulfuric acid, you use the word sulfate. The reason is because for sulfuric acid, here, for sulfuric acid, can you see that there is oxygen? And I told you just now, right, that when got oxygen, you need to spell with the letter ATE. That's why it's called sulfate, not sulfite. Yeah, so that's how you get the answer of zinc sulfate. Okay? Anyone else need me to explain P or Q or R? If not, I already move on already if you're not asking. So all good? Okay, good that you got it right. Okay, then let's continue on with the notes. So let's move on to the next page, question number 14. Oh yeah, by the way, since we did one question in class here, so I will leave the other acid bases question for you as homework. So I will leave question number 5 of the MCQ as homework for you lah. I won't be going through because similar also. So question 5 MCQ, you do it as homework. Okay. So let's move on to the next part over here on pH scale. So pH scale need to know that 7 is neutral, less than 7 is acidic, more than 7 is basic. And this is actually the color for universal indicator. So you can see, be it litmus paper or universal indicator, acid very dangerous, right? Just like I show you the attack on India's lady. Yeah, so dangerous. So acid, you think of red color. Then alkali, like soap. See soap, can you see the word soap? Soap make you feel cooling after you shower. You choose cool colors like blue, purple. Okay, then next part over here, this part don't need to memorize, okay? So this part here, the range just need to know roughly acidic or like acidic is like the red orange color. Then alkaline is like the cool colors will do. Then litmus paper, I think you already know, so should be no problem. Let's now try out related to this page, question number 7 of the MCQ. So can you go over to question number 7 now and do this question now? Okay, I get you, I get you. So this time round, they choose other indicators. So you need to know that if they say that the color change at 4, right, that means when it is red color, that means it is less than 4. Yellow means more than 4. So this is the middle color. That means in other words, when the color change, it will be a mixture of both. And you all learned before in art and craft, right? Red plus yellow, you mix together, what color do you get? Orange. That's why at 4, you will get orange. Next part. 6.4, it will change color. That means less than 6.4 is yellow. More than 6.4 is blue. Then when yellow and blue mix together, what do you get in art and craft? Green, correct. So that means at 6.4, the color is green. Next, pH 9 change color. That means less than pH 9, it is colorless. More than pH 9, it is pink. So then if you mix colorless and pink, you get light pink. Okay, then in this case, yep, you give it a try to answer this question now. To be done by now. So what answer did y'all get? So what's the answer did y'all get? Correct. Answer is B. Can? Because in order to get yellow, means that I need it to be here, right? I need to be here yellow as well as where is yellow? Over here. Yellow. So and then it must be like colorless also, right? So that you know yellow, colorless, you get yellow. That means my answer should be more than 4, but less than 6.4, which is 5 more. Can? Yeah, so to fit in all 3 of them, the answer is 5. Let's continue back to the notes. So just now we were at the pH scale, right? Yeah, then that's all for the chemical changes topic. Next, let's move on to the third chapter for today, the final topic, which is on ecosystems. Okay, so for ecosystem, the first part over here, it will be just the different factors. You need to know there's biotic and abiotic factor. So biotic factor refers to living things. How to remember? Biotic factor comes from the word biology, right? Biology, isn't it, means that the study of living things? Because biology is where we learn about like the human system as well as the plant system, right? So that's why bio means living. Then abio, A means opposite, like sexual versus asexual reproduction. So that's why A means opposite. So it becomes non-living things. That means everything in your environment. Next, for the feeding relationships, so need to know that if the host is harmed, that means that's parasites, right? Like mosquito, like harm you and then make you very itchy or even like have dengue fever. Then a commensalism is depending on school. Most schools don't test it lah, but I just put it in case your school tests it. Then the main ones I would say is parasitism and mutualism. So mutualism is like, hey, let's come to a mutual agreement. Mutual agreement means it benefits both parties, right? And that's why it will benefit both the host and the other organism. Okay, so moving on, nothing much to annotate anyways. Okay, next it will be need to know the different keywords. Yeah, so the first word it will be species. So what species? Like example, like human species.
So human species is a group of interbreeding organism because by right human should breed with human. Human should not breed with like some other animals. Yeah, because some crazy human actually go and like have sexual intercourse with like some other weird animals, right? That's where I think you all learned before, right? What HIV and all the different kind of diseases come about. Yeah, so one of the origins that they said that like how HIV actually come about was actually a human like had sexual intercourse with like a chimpanzee or something like that. Yeah, that's how this kind of weird stuff come out. Yeah, yeah, but that's for human repro lah. But I'm not covering today. Okay, I continue back to ecosystem here. Okay, then next would be that, yeah, so like for example here you see, so same species, okay, both are muggy, that's why it is called species. Next, population. So in Singapore, we have different population, right? We got the Chinese population, Malay population, Indian population, and all. Yeah, so that's why population will be a group of organisms of the same species. So that means they are all human, but we gather in like groups lah. That's why it's like the Malay population, something like that. Okay, then yeah, like that, a group of the same species. Next, community. One way to understand community is you based on, in Singapore, we have community centers, right? Like if you stay in Bukit Timah, got Bukit Timah Community Center. If you stay like maybe Toa Payoh, got Toa Payoh Community Center. Yeah, so that's why what happened at the community center is where different race, different population, they will all go to the same CC, right? As long as you stay in that region. That's why we will say that different population, like the Indian population, Malay population, Chinese population, as long as they live in that same place and go to the same community center, that means they are considered as community. Next, habitat. Habitat, I think you all know from primary school, it is just the environment that the organism live in. So habitat is the non-living factor, then the abiotic factor. Okay, so use human to understand it. Like, the Chinese population, community are like community center. You use things that you are familiar with, easier to understand. Then lastly, it will be ecosystem. So ecosystem will be living plus non-living things. So can you see the living things plus rocks and water? Yeah, all these are the non-living things. So it's just a combination of both living and non-living. That's all. Okay, so maybe let's write it down that ecosystem is the living things, which is the biotic factor plus non-living things. Yeah, so non-living things would be the abiotic factors. Yeah, so it's just living plus non-living. Write it in. Okay, so I shall move on. Okay, so for the next part over here, need to know that energy flow within an ecosystem is actually linear and non-cyclical. So it means that the energy comes from the sun. Take note, okay, that the sun is the source of energy. Producer is of plants is not the source of energy. This is one of the common mistake among students. Whenever question asks you what's the source of energy, a lot of students write plants. Because they thought that food chain start from plant, but actually it's not plant. It's actually the sun. So the sun is the source of energy absorbed by the producer. That's why the energy comes from the sun. Yeah, and it's linear, meaning it's one way. So once the energy flow from the sun to the producer, which photosynthesize, and then they get on by the consumer, the energy will just end at consumer. The energy can't go back to the sun anymore. Cannot go in a cycle. That's why it's called not cyclical. Okay, then in this topic, you all know, right, don't have calculation anymore. So it's all sentence writing. So remember to use the answering technique, okay? That whenever it's about energy loss, why? It's because heat loss from the body through excretion. Excretion is actually just referring to pee lah. Yeah. And then ejection over here refers to poop. You all know that your pee and poop are all warm, right? Yeah, so technically, if you pee and poop in winter, you actually keep losing heat lah. Yeah, so actually, shouldn't keep peeing when you are in winter country because very cold. Okay, as well as some of the energy is stuck in the body as like cells. Yeah, that's why it's lost in uneaten parts. So for useful energy, the energy can be used for maybe like help you to like respiration and then help you to move or else cell repair. That's how energy is being utilized in a useful way. So overall, take note that the lost energy that once you reach the consumer part here, when it's lost, it's really lost already. You can't recycle back and give back to the sun anymore. Yeah, so that's why we would say that if every stage you keep on lose energy because of like body heat, through pee and poop and all, that means actually if you go down the food chain, there's less and less heat. Sorry, there's less and less energy because energy keep on lost in between. That's why we would say that over here, energy transferred from one trophic level. Trophic level refers to the stage. So once the energy from one stage to another stage keep on decrease, that means we would say that your number of organism for each trophic level, that means each food, each stage, you will have less organism. Yeah, so you have lesser organism for each stage. Yeah, that's why we would say that the numbers will decrease as you go along the food chain. Yeah, because maybe this animal now you can lose energy, very little energy left. That means this little bit of energy can only support a few predators only. That's why from so much animal, you only can have a few predators. That's why in conclusion, take note that the number of prey in the earlier stage will always be more than the number of predators in the next stage because you can only have less and less organism as you go along the food chain. Once you are done copying, can you all try question number 8 now? Yeah, do question number 8 now. Do now. Question 8. Javier, yes, because the number of organisms keep getting lesser and lesser. That's why your pyramid of numbers, majority is like the triangle shape, where it gets lesser up the food chain. But of course, pyramid of numbers, there are 3 other exceptions. Need to know the 3 specific exceptions. You can refer to your school notes. Because pyramid of numbers, very few IP schools teach. Yeah, that's why I'm not going through here. I'm going through the one that majority of the schools need. Okay, class, so what's the answer for question number 8? What's the answer? Answer is C. Correct. Very good. Okay, so why is the answer C? Okay, let me go through now. It's because based on what I just mentioned to you over here, right, that the number of prey should always be more than the number of predators. That's why this time round, if they ask you for predator, should it be the on top one or the below one? Since we said predator is less, that means the predator should be the below one. That means you can eliminate and left with option C versus D. Then now you just read the question. They say disease outbreak. So disease outbreak will cause a decrease in population or increase. Obviously, it must be a decrease in population, right? Because disease kill the animal. That's why you choose answer C. Okay? Okay, so then let's continue on with the notes. So for Hashika, you're asking why is the number of prey greater than the number of predators? Because it is covered over here, where because as you go down the food chain, you will have less and less energy transferred because there's a lot of energy lost in, as mentioned over here, that you can less loss as a body heat, lost through poop, lost through pee. So by the time the amount of energy that is left in my body for the predator maybe to consume me, right, there will be less energy. Because although, yeah, maybe I'm a herbivore, if I eat the plant, I got 100 joules of energy. But I lost during my whole life process, I lost like maybe 30 joules. By the time what's left in me when the predator feed on me, only left 70 joules. You know, so if 70 joules, that means it can only support like maybe this number of predators. The same also, the number of predators that you have, they also lose energy. By the time the amount of energy you have is even lesser. That's why you can't have that many organisms in the next stage, which is the next trophic level. Okay, so for Adeline, if you want me to go through homework question, you can stay back after class, then I'll go through because it's a different chapter. I don't want to go back to the previous topic already. If not, breaking the flow. Okay, so then next part over here, this one is just comparison between respiration versus photosynthesis. I think you all should know, right? What are the conditions needed? What's the energy conversion? The chemical equation? Yeah, then the function. All this I leave it to you to study on your own. It's just facts, nothing much to understand. Okay, so moving on to the next part over here on food chains. So need to know that for food chain, it's just showing you how energy is being transferred and the feeding relationship. Yep. Can you highlight it? And take note, okay? Food chain must start with producer. So even if the question never mentioned, you still start with producer. Okay, so it's a must to start with producer. And take note, okay, is the sun that is the source of energy.
not plants. I mentioned just now before already.
Sun is then the source of energy, not plants.
Okay, so right now, can you skip and do question number 16B part 1 now?
Yeah, do question 16B part 1 now.
So make sure that you follow and annotate all this in, okay?
Yeah, if haven't, make sure you annotate it.
Sorry, can I check on the attendance for the back row? I start from you first. So your name is? Cannot hear.
Okay, Tredo, all right?
Then beside Trevor is? Cannot hear.
Ko, is it?
Cohan. Col. Oh, okay, I found it. Okay, can thank you. Then you are?
Aar.
Wait, let me find. Wait, okay, again, sorry. C? Oh, single A. Oh, okay, Aron. Yeah, I found your name already. Okay, can thank you. Okay, everyone should be done with question 16B part 1 by now, right? Okay, so I shall review the answer, okay? So for 16B part 1,
What did I just mention? Food chain must start with.
I'll start with what? Sorry, wrong page. Sorry, over here.
Yeah, sorry, this part here. Oh, sorry, I see wrong question. So what's the answer here?
What's the answer? Sun. Can? That's all.
Okay, then the next one that I want you to give it a try will be question
15B part 1. Question 15B part 1. This one here. So the question broke into the different pages. So that means you need to start from part B over here. So you need to read the part B part, then you can do B part 1. Yep, so do B part 1 now.
This is question 15B part 1, but you need to read part B first. Yeah, continue marking the attendance. So next you are.
Oh, okay, can.
Okay, then next, can I mark your attendance, please? Beside Adele, you are? Okay. Wait, Alicia, is it?
Oh, ALY. Okay, can. Okay, yes, I found your name.
Then you are?
Can, found it. Thank you.
Then you are?
You last minute sign up, is it? I can't see your name on my list. Okay, I manually add your name in, bah. So your Jacqueline is Jacqueline. Then your surname is? Cannot hear. LIM. Then maybe can I get your phone number? Louder. 2, is it? Okay, then again. Okay, can. Okay, so I shall go through the answer now. Okay, so for this question over here, how do you all draw it? So I believe most of you should have at least drawn this part here, which is you put in like zooplankton. Then after that, you draw sea corals. Then after that, you draw butterfly fish, right? Then after that, you arrow to the shark. This is 0 marks. Incorrect. Something missing. Do you know what's missing? What's missing? What's missing? So yeah, Ziying is correct. Like you need to start from plant. Can you start a food chain with animal or not? Cannot, right? You must always start a food chain with plant. Without this arrow, 0 marks. Need to have this arrow, okay? So I recommend that you do as correction. You don't change your answer. So that next time when you revise, you know that, yeah, that time I forget about this arrow. Yeah, so don't make this mistake, okay? Okay, so let's continue on to back to the notes. I can't remember which page was I at. I was here, right? I'm done with all this. Then this one also done. Okay, can. That means now I am here. Can you all flip to this page now? This is page 15. Okay, so for page 15 over here, so you need to know that trophic level means the stage number. So stage 1, it would be called producers. And this one be careful, okay? Although it's primary, but the level is 2. Secondary got the word second, right? But the level is 3. Yeah, so just be careful that the name and the number differs a little bit. Yep. Okay, all this I think you all should know from school. Okay, then next is this another answering technique. So whenever question asks you to explain, try to use such model template answer, yeah, which is only 10% of the energy get passed down. Yeah, that's why the amount of energy that you have is very little. That means like example at the start, right? Maybe the producer got maybe 100% of the energy or 100 joules. So once the herbivore feeds on it, you only pass down 10%. That means only 10% of the energy get passed to the herbivore because 90% lost as respiration, heat, and this and that. Yeah, so then by the time from the herbivore, you pass it on to the carnivore, only left 1%. So you see, if you need so much energy to chase for this animal here, it only give you 1% of the energy. The energy you spend in chasing versus the energy you obtain through consuming. Will you be able to obtain enough energy through consuming or not? You might not be able to obtain enough energy through consuming. That's why it is very hard to have the next level. Yeah, that's why usually we will say that food chain, we tend not to be too long because towards the back, it's almost impossible to let the organism to survive after they chase their prey. Because the food that they obtain from their prey, the energy they obtain from their prey is too low already. That's why there's a limit to how long a food chain is, and the number of organism will become less and less and less because it's too little energy. Yeah, you can't support so many predators. Okay, so then next would be that as mentioned here, usually very hard to reach stage 5 lah. 4 is already very little left already. So 5 is impossible. So generally, the shorter the food chain, the more efficient it is because there will be less energy lost to the surrounding. Okay, as well as for food chain, right, need to know that not only there are animals, there are also decomposers present, right? Because animals, their poop need to be decomposed, dead bodies also need to be decomposed, dead leaves also need to be decomposed. So when you look at decomposers, right, they are actually present throughout every single trophic level. But if you need to give it a number, you give it the last number. That means if the food chain is 4 stage, right, we would say that decomposers would be trophic level 5. If your food chain is 3 stage, then the trophic level for decomposers will be trophic level 4. You always give it the last number, even though you know that it's present throughout. Because it's very confusing to say that, decomposers is at trophic level 1, 2, 3, 4. It's like, so which level? Yeah, so that's why we will just give it the last digit. So let's write down that decomposers are found at every... Hello, are you copying? Can follow and copy it down? Yeah, so it's found at every trophic level, but we'll give it the highest trophic level number. Yep. As well as what's the purpose of decomposers? So need to know the function also. So decomposers, spelling error. Okay. Yep. So for decomposers, it would be that you need to take note that they actually decompose. Rian, can you go just use one of the classroom? Yeah, so they will decompose dead plants and animals. Yeah, so when they decompose them, mainly you will return the nutrients that is locked in the dead organisms back to the ecosystem and it will be used by the green plants as nutrients. Those at the back cannot really see it. Okay, I scroll up a bit. Better? So like the example I gave, if your food chain only got 3 stage, then the trophic level of decomposers, we call it as trophic level 4. That means it's always the last stage. Yeah. So take note, okay, that decomposers are the only one that can help you to recycle the nutrients. That's why we would say that nutrients is actually cyclical, because once the nutrients from the producer go to the herbivore, go to the carnivore, in the end what happens? It will actually, from the carnivore, it can go back to the producer again. That's why nutrients are cyclical. Versus energy. Remember just now the title for the energy? Energy is actually non-cyclical. It was in the title at the top of this page. Okay? So can you take note? You also need to know when is it cyclical, when is it not cyclical. It means whether does it go in the cycle or not. So energy is always from the sun, go to the consumer, that's it. It won't go back to the sun. Then in conclusion, we would say that means if there is no decomposers, do you know that it means that everyone will die? Yeah, because if don't have decomposers, means that you won't release out the energy. If you don't release out the energy, one day the energy will be depleted. Because remember, based on what we have learned in the principle of conservation of energy at the start of the lesson, energy cannot be created or destroyed, right? If you keep on get stuck inside the dead animals, what happens? And I cannot create new energy. That means one day I will be depleted of energy. Yeah, that's why if no decomposers to release the nutrients, then yeah, it will end up one day everyone will die. Yeah, so you need to have decomposers to release the nutrients so that you can recycle it and then all the organism can survive. So usually in food web for Javier's question is that usually they won't ask you to label decomposers lah. Yeah, because decomposers happen at every stage. For Hashika, for mutualism, they won't ask you to draw in a food web lah. You just need to be able to identify in sentence writing will do. Okay, so I shall move on. Next part over here on environmental conservation. So the most commonly tested ones, it would be the marine conservation, as well as coral reef conservation and rainforest conservation. So all these are just facts. Can I leave it to you to just self-study it on your own? Because all this I think your teacher already went through with you. It's just facts, nothing to understand also. Yeah. Oh yeah, sorry. I missed out something. So whenever it is there's a lot of question on food chain, food web kind, right? So whenever it's food web question, take note, okay, exam skills to take note will be how you phrase your answer in explanation answer. So take note, okay, that whenever you need to have such keywords. Number one, you use words like you say that the whatever animal population increase or decrease. Like example, you can say that, maybe the tiger population increase or decrease. Don't use the word number. Don't say that the number of tiger increase or decrease. Cannot. So number is not a keyword. Use the word population. So you say tiger population increase. Something like that. Okay, then another one to take note of is, this tiger will eat this wolf, right? So the correct word to use is not eat. Use the word feed on. Yeah, so if you use the word eat is very talking term. It's not a science keyword. As well as sometimes you will realize that question will talk about like food source. Yeah, or maybe it's the only food source. So you see the question, if it is the only food source, you add in the word only. If not, just write food source will do. Okay, so these are the keywords you need to have in your answer, okay? Yeah, so use the correct terminologies. Okay, so yep, so the next part over here on all the conservations, just wanted to emphasize to you what eutrophication. Eutrophication is where your entire surface all end up covered with algae. So it's like the whole surface, if it's greenish looking, right, that's eutrophication. I show you picture. It's like something like that. Can you see the whole surface all end up green in color? And this is called eutrophication. So what's happening during eutrophication is people didn't dispose dirty water carefully. So like for example, like maybe you shower got soap and all, then in the end all this like or maybe like nearby there's like people that throw like all these chemicals that has nitrates and phosphate, and this happen to be good for algae growth. So in the end algae grow so much that they cover the whole surface, then become the submerged plant cannot receive enough oxygen. So if the bottom plant cannot receive enough oxygen, they die. And then when they die, you need to know decomposition will use up oxygen because bacteria actually respire. Yeah, so when you under like human, right, we respire means we will take up oxygen, release carbon dioxide. So you see, the bacteria, they will take in and use up the oxygen. Then become, you see, submerged plant die because they come. So if submerged plant die, they don't produce dissolved oxygen. And then here the bacteria use up the oxygen some more. That means my water totally no more oxygen. So if no more oxygen, then everybody die. So even the fish, all the organism inside also will die. Yes, that's the effect of eutrophication, which is very, very jialat. Yeah, cause like it's just making it the whole pond, right, not suitable for survival anymore, except the algae and the floating plants. Okay, then the rest you can just read it on your own. Another common like nowadays increasing trend question would be coral reefs. Yeah, so for coral reefs, why are we protecting? Because nowadays we realize that there is like a decrease. Okay, anyways, in case what you are wondering what is coral reefs, is this kind lah. Okay, so these are coral reefs. Yeah. So for coral reef, they realize that because of like water pollution, you make it such that the corals unable to survive. That's why there are all these solutions in place lah to help protect the coral reefs. Done. Okay, so for the worksheet, let's now finish up the worksheet. Okay, so for the remaining MCQ, I won't be going through. You give it a try because I told you already at the end of the session, I'll be giving an answer key where you can check your answers. Yeah, so the MCQ just try out bah. Because the more difficult ones I already went through with you all just now. The leftovers are the easier ones, which I think you should be able to manage. Okay, so if any of you are fast and then you manage to do the MCQ, then if you're not sure the answer, you can stay back after class to ask me. I will pick the more difficult ones to go through now. Okay, so for question number 11 over here, let's do this question now. So they said that the figure 11.1, so this question 11, they show you a piece of wood being pulled by a force on a tabletop, and the wood moves with a constant speed. And the force to move the wood is measured by instrument Y. So right now they ask you to complete the free body diagram. What is free body diagram? You refer to your notes page 3 over here. There. So all these are the free body diagrams. So that's how you draw. Yep. So right now, can you refer to page 3 over here and do part A now? Yep. So label in as many forces as you can. Yep. Label now. So draw in all the arrows. And after you label that, after you draw the arrow, remember to name it. Then you spell it out. And I'll recommend that if anything you need to label, spell out in full. Don't write shortcut what NCF. Because if the teacher is strict, they can mark you down. Because I do see it in some of my students' exam paper, the teacher mark down when they write shortcut. So the teacher expect them to fill it in full. Let's just refer to your notes, okay? So for Hashika, all three are within syllabus. So all three all need to know. But I would say the ones that I see more commonly tested is coral reef and rainforest lah. But all three need to know. So should be done by now. Okay, come, let's go through the answer now. Okay, so how many forces do you all manage to identify? Can you all point with your finger? How many forces do you all find? How many? Can I have a point? Like how many forces do you all manage to find? Okay, so I see three over there, three over there. Any more? And the rest of you, eh? How many forces do you all identify over here? So majority three. Is it anyone else have any other answer? So majority three forces. Actually, yeah, four is then correct. So majority is wrong. Okay, the answer is four forces. Yep, Javier is right too. Okay, so what are the four forces? So if you're missing, then yeah, you do as correction. Don't change your answer. Okay, so I think the most obvious one is weight. Okay, depending on how strict your teacher is. If your teacher say you must really aim the exact center, right? How you measure the exact center? You take your ruler, you connect from one end to the other end. As well as here also, one end to the other end. Sorry, I don't have a ruler lah, okay, on TV screen. So you just use a ruler, you draw. Then once they intersect, right, this point of intersection will be really the geometrical center of the object. Okay, then from here, you label downward, and I told you, right, spell out in full. Because teacher can mark you down if you just label as W. Next, I believe you all should be able to tell that there is a normal contact force, right? So you follow what your school says. If your school says normal reaction force, you use the word reaction force. If your school says contact force, you write contact force. Next, in this case, because the object moves with constant speed above, right? Do you see the word constant speed? So what does it mean by constant speed? Just now I went through with you, right? So if you talk about the resultant force, how's the resultant force? Constant speed. Can you check back your notes, like the first page? What happened to the resultant force? It is zero, right? Do you all know which page to find the answer? It's on the first page of your forces notes, okay? So if resultant force zero means it must balance. That means the up and down must be equal. So things to take note is, can you check the length? So the upward arrow length and the downward arrow length, are they the same length? Can you double check? Because the length represents the magnitude. Hello, can you check your arrow length? Are they the same or not? If different, can you do as correction? Because same length, that means it's equal. So that they can balance out to be zero resultant force. And since this is moving, right? And can you see the person is pulling with a force? That means you would have a horizontal force. That's why over here, you need to have a force from the hand. And since resultant force is zero, that means if you have forward force, you must have an opposing backward force. That's why you need to have a frictional force. And can you make sure that the length is also the same? Yeah, so over here, you can either write as friction or frictional force also can. So that's another thing to take note of. The leftward arrow length should be equals to the rightward arrow length. So all four don't need to be the same. As long as left, right, same length, up, down, same length can now. You see, my up, down, longer one, but my left, right is shorter. It's okay. As long as left and right, same length will do. Okay, so that's the key point to take note of. Then lastly is make sure all of them has the name labeled in full. Done. Even right, gravitational force is not recommended because when you label, we tend to label as weight instead. So if question asks you, can you identify the type of force? And then you want the word force, right? You then write gravitational force because of the word force. But when labeling, we should label as weight. Okay, so moving on, should be done with correction by now. Moving on to part B. Using the idea of forces, explain why the wooden block travels at a constant speed. Yeah, so in this case, can you all check your notes and tell me which page can you find the answer from? Can you flip your notes now? Which page can you find the answer from? So for Lisha, you heard me, right? Like better to write weight lah. Yep. And then don't need to draw off from the middle, Lisha. You look at the notes page 3, you will see that the starting point is different. Yeah, so don't necessarily need to start from the middle. So how? Which page can you find the answer from? Which page can you find the answer from for the part B? It will be which page? Isn't it the first page? Yeah, over here. Yeah, so since we said that it's constant speed, isn't it here? The speed is constant. So when the speed is constant, what do we need to take note of? We need to take note that resultant force is zero, right? So this is one of the keyword that we need to have in our answer. Okay, so let's write it in. So that would be one of the keyword. Okay, come, write down. Notes page 2. So it would be that the resultant, wait, why my word disappear? Let me try again. Yep, resultant force is 0. Yeah, so need to have this. So why is resultant force 0? So this time round, it is traveling which way? Is the object traveling up, down, or left, right? Which way is the object traveling? Which way is the object traveling? Up, down, or left, right? It's traveling horizontally, right, left, right. So that's why now you just need to make sure your horizontal forces is equal to 0. So how to make sure that your horizontal force is equal to 0? So what are the horizontal forces? So let's identify. What are your horizontal forces? Hello, what are your horizontal forces? What is it? Friction. Thank you, Javier. What's the other horizontal force? Yep, correct. Thank you, Evan. Pulling force. Yeah, so this time round, your two horizontal force, you must make sure that they must be, what happened? They must be equal to each other, right? Uh-huh. Motion? What about motion? Oh, you change to the word motion. Motion is just a movement. It's not a type of force. Yeah, so need to have the word force. Yeah, so this time round, it would be the pulling force and friction must be equal to each other, as well as since you want it to move horizontally, means it is not floating up, not sinking down, right? That means your vertical forces must also be equal to each other. That's why the next answer would be, you also need to mention that the weight and normal contact force should also be equal to each other, so that it doesn't float, it also doesn't sink. Okay? Okay, so besides it being equal, need to have one more point also. So the answer is still incomplete. So besides equal, what else do we need to include? So if my forces all upwards, but equal, then equal amount. If all upwards, then what happen? My object will flow up, right? That's why what happened to these two forces? They must be balanced, and then anything else? So balance is equal already. What else? Opposite in what thing? In the direction. Okay, that's why I must also mention that it must be opposite in direction. Then they can then balance it out. Clear? So must have the word opposite direction. Then done already. Okay, so I'll leave it to you to write out on your own at home. Just slowly phrase it in. Then remember, I told you that at the end of the lesson, I'll give you the answer key. You try and write out on your own, okay? Then later you then check with the answer key after you are done. Okay, then I shall move on. Okay, so for the next part here, all these are not difficult lah. I leave it to you to give it a try on your own. You're done copying the hints, right? I can clear the screen, right? I clear already, yeah? Okay, so over here, this one, I'll give you the hints. You just refer to your notes, page 7, to do it. Okay, just write notes page 7, you try on your own, not difficult. Okay, so moving on to the next page, question number 12. Oh, this is a very easy question. I leave it to you to do as homework, okay? So you complete it as homework. Then this part here, remember to use the answering technique. Yeah, so can you write it down here? Remember to use the answering technique in the notes page 6. You try like just copy and paste, you just modify the few words, then can now. Xavier, no question, right? I mute you. Okay, so then the rest, I think feasible. You can do it on your own. So I'll move on to question 13. We done already, right? So we will skip question number 14. Yeah, because question 14, you also done it, right? Yeah, okay, then we move on. Question number 15. Let me see, 15, I'll just briefly guide you through, then you do it as homework, okay? So for the front part, all these are just one word kind. I think should be no problem. You can do it on your own. Come, let's go through this kind of long answer. Explain, and then 2 marks. Okay, so for this question, they are asking, explain why food chains are rarely more than 5 organisms long. So right now, can you flip your notes and tell me which page of the notes can you find the answer from? What's the page number? So which page number can you find it from? So how, which page can you find it from? Yes, very good. You can find it from notes page 15. Yep, so for notes page 15, it's over here, right? Then which page, which part? It would be here. Then you see the answering technique. About the 10% of the energy is passed down, 90% is lost. So use this answering technique for the part 3 question. Okay, wait, where's my question? Hold on. 15, part 3, yeah, over here. Come, let's write it down. So this one, you use the answering technique in notes page 15. You slowly copy it on your own at home when you do the homework. Okay? Yeah, so for this worksheet, we purposely put in much more questions so that you can go home and do some more practices because it's just a 3-hour session, it won't be sufficient. Yes, that's why we've included answer key also so that you can try out on your own at home. Okay, then moving on, part B, this one is just part 1 we done already. Part 2, this one you can just check the notes. Can you flip your notes again? Which page can you find the answer from? Which is what I was saying, right? Mutualism is like we come to a mutual agreement. That means both parties, what happened? Both parties, what happened? If it's a mutual agreement. So can you flip your notes? Which page can you find the answer from? What's the page number? What's the page number? Page 13, very good. And on page 13, what's the keyword that you see? Both organisms. Okay, that's the answer. Done. You check page 13, the answer is there. Okay, so moving on to part 3. This one is just one mark. It's quite easy lah. I don't know why they give so much lines. This one you try on your own, but it's very, very easy. Yeah, so you should be able to do it. I'll go through part C because part C is tougher. Okay, so part C, let's take a look here. They said that stingrays that consume seahorses were suddenly introduced into coral reefs. So they are asking you to explain how the population of the shrimps will be affected. So now you need to go and look back at your food web. Okay, so now let's take a look. If you look at the food web, and then here the keyword is stingrays that consume seahorse were introduced. And remember, in this topic, we don't use the word consume. So what's the first keyword they need to have? So instead of consume, what's the correct word to use? Feed on. Very good. Good that you all remembered. Okay, so let's write down. So your first part of the answer is you should mention that stingray feed on the seahorses. Then now you go on to, if you feed on the seahorses, then what should you write next? So same thing, look at the keywords. Remember just now I went through with you, keywords needed for open-ended answer. So what do you need to write next? If you keep on feed on the seahorses, what happened to the seahorses? So what's the keyword to write? Population, very good. So you write down that seahorses population, what happened? Decrease, good. And next, they are talking about shrimp. What is the focus? So how does the seahorse link to shrimp? So what's the relationship of the seahorse to the shrimp? So the seahorse is the what relationship? Predator, correct. That's why you realize that now the predators of the shrimp, what happened to the level? It will decrease also, right? And then now you can answer back the question already. So what happened to the population of the shrimp? Increase or decrease? What is it? It will increase, correct, very good. Done. So this is the answer. Then you just at home slowly write it out in proper sentence. That will be your complete answer. Okay? Then I move on. Should be more or less done copying. Okay, then for those of you who are fast, can you look at the next part of the question, part D. Can you tell me which page of the notes can you find the answer from? Yep, so can you look at part D and tell me which page number? For Jacqueline just now, I think your phone number I called wrongly. Can you repeat again? Wait. I don't want to read out all the number because the lesson is recorded. The third and fourth digit is 6 and 2, is it? Oh, okay, can. Then can already. Thank you. Okay, so in this case, which page number can you find the answer from, people? Which page? Okay, people, you want to be dismissed one or not? So what's the page number? Page 17. Very good. Just copy from there, can? Then just do it on your own, bah. Done writing down the page number? Page 17. Okay. I move on. Okay, so moving on to the next page over here. So they show you a food web and part 1. Write a word equation for the process that the tree gets its energy from. So how does tree gets its energy? So what's the name of this process? Photosynthesis, very good. And they want the equation. So same thing. Can you flip your notes now? So you see the notes very useful, right? You can find a lot of information. Yeah, so don't always like write freestyle. Try to obtain the answer from the notes so that it's more accurate. Okay, so now same thing. Can you flip your notes and tell me which page can you find the answer from? The word equation for photosynthesis. What's the page number? What's the page number? Page 14. Very good. Okay, so I leave it to you to do it on your own. We move on to part 2. During one particular year, most of the beetle larvae are killed by a disease. And they are asking you to state and explain how would this affect the woodpecker population. Okay, so now can you look at the food web and tell me when beetle larvae are killed, what would happen? So what happens first? When beetle larvae is killed, so what do you notice will happen? So what happens? Hello, everyone. So what happens when beetle larvae is killed? You don't know what happened? Maybe can you be specific? Who are you referring to? So how people, why not we look at the beetle larvae itself? If beetle larvae is killed, what happened to its own population? It will decrease, right? So let's write that down first. Decrease in the beetle larvae population. I write shortcut, okay? POPN means population, okay? So if there's less beetle larvae, who is affected? Can you look at the food web? Who is affected? Boo-boo, right? So what happened to the boo-boo? They will have less, what for the boo-boo? Yes, less food for the boo-boo. So what happened to the boo-boo now if there's less food? Correct, yep. So decrease in the boo-boo population. So when boo-boo population decrease, but the question, are they asking you for boo-boo or not? No, right? The question is asking you for woodpecker. So can you look at the food web now? From boo-boo, how to link until woodpecker? Owl first, correct. So what happened to the owl population? Yes, decrease. Then later, then what happened? That means now the owl will have, there will be less owl to prey or to feed on the woodpecker, right? That's why, that's how you affect your woodpecker population lah. So this is one way. There's another answer. The other answer is because do you realize that this is the larvae? Larvae is like the baby version, right? So the baby version one day will grow up to become the adult version, correct? So that means if you have less larvae, that means there will be less beetle population. Yeah, so if you have less beetle population, then what happens next? How does it link to the woodpecker? Correct, less food for the woodpecker. Very good. So less food for the woodpecker. So this is the another version of the answer. Yeah, so actually either one is fine. Don't need to write both. Just either one will do. Okay, so I shall move on. Done copying down the hints. For those of you who have questions, maybe you can stay back after class, then I will address all your questions because I don't want to hold everyone back because it's already 1 p.m. Let me finish up first. Okay, so you all write in as proper answer on your own at home, okay? Then moving on to the next part here, part 3, food chain, I think no problem. You can do it on your own. This part over here, part 1, we done already, right? So for part 2, 5% of the energy stored in tissues and 60% energy is passed to the next organism. So they're asking you to state the process that use up the remaining 35%. So do you all know Why the body need to use energy? What do we use it for? So what's the answer? Yes, very good. Respiration. Okay, then for part 3, I will leave it to you to do on your own because it is not difficult. So for part 4, state one difference between the flow of energy and the flow of nutrients in the ecosystem. Just now I went through, right? So what's the answer? Energy is? So energy is cyclical? Are non-cyclical because remember energy comes from the sunlight. Then after that, it will go to the producer, then the consumer. Then it cannot go back to the sun now. So that's why it's non-cyclical. As compared to nutrients, it will be opposite. It would be cyclical. So this is actually from notes, page 14. Can you write in the page number? Hold on, I'll give you the answer key. As promised. Okay, so should be done copying by now. So for those online, if you have any more questions, you can stay back. I can address your question after class. So anyways, before I give off the answer key, you're done copying, right? So I would appreciate if you can help to provide us a review. Yeah, so since you are attending at Bukit Timah, then can you all scan the Bukit Timah QR code? And then once you are done with the review, you show me your Google review. I'll give you a foolscap pad. And very cute one. It's an overmarked foolscap pad. Yeah, it's good quality one, okay? It's the A zone paper one. Yep. Then in the review, I appreciate if you all can give 5 star can because our rating very high. It's 4 point like very, very high. If you give 4 star, we'll cool down. So maybe can appreciate you all to give 5 star Google review. Then if you want to mention about me, my name is Miss Felicia. Yep, so maybe you can talk about my lesson. Yep, or you can talk about like the lesson material, how you find it. So I hope that you all have at least like benefited and learn some questions that is like, like there are questions that maybe you didn't know how to do it. Then today you managed to learn how to do it. Yeah, so hope that you managed to like pick up some exam tips also. Like I teach you like all the um tips and all. Yeah. So after you're done with the review, then I'll give you the answer key. Yeah, can. Yeah, there's a Google review. Yeah. So you scan the Bukit Timah one. Then after that, you just write in something like so you can talk about like, oh, you enjoyed the lesson today, or you can talk about me, yeah, how you find my lessons. Yeah. Thank you everyone. Yep. Then I'll distribute the foolscap after I give out the answer key. Yeah. So that I can one shot take from the cupboard because I think quite a lot of you are doing the review. Yeah, it's free foolscap. Yeah, so I recommend that you all do it. Yeah. Yep, I'll give the answer key soon. Should be almost done with the Google review. Anyways, since you are here, there is actually one perk that Overmark is offering for your who attended this event. Yeah, so it's like a special perk which I'm going to show you on the next page. Should be done, right? Okay, I move on first. Okay, so yeah, so this is actually the perks that we'll be giving out. So this one is actually an interest form. So the thing is that if you are considering maybe only maybe like 50% chance, you're thinking maybe I want to sign up for tuition next year, but you say that I don't even know what subject combination, right? Because you need to wait till your result out and all. Then you want to see maybe your performance. Am I doing well? Maybe not doing well, then tuition. Maybe do well, don't need tuition. But it's okay. Whether you want to sign up for tuition or not, I'll recommend that you scan this form because if you scan this form, right, we can secure you all the early bird perks. So example, if you like example, there's a date because this one by right got a deadline for the early bird perks. So maybe you forget to sign up by the deadline. But it's okay because today you got scan this and then you submit your interest, right? We will still guarantee you the early bird perks. Yeah, so even if you are overmarked students, that means you are having tuition with us right now for Sec 2, I'll recommend that you also scan it because new year, it will be a new registration. Yeah, so overmarked students, if you are a current student, you need to scan it also. Yeah, so this is to secure you all these benefits. So at the end, right, if you decided that no I don't want tuition, it's okay because this is just to secure your free gifts first. Yeah, so it is okay not to sign up for tuition later. So I recommend that why not you just scan, yeah, to like in just in case you want to sign up for tuition. Yeah. By the way, those of you who done submitting the Google review, remember to keep your form there so that later when I check, you just flash your phone to show me, then I'll give you the foolscap pad. Give me a while, I'll go and get one more stack of foolscap. Okay, so I shall move on. Yep, so next it will be, sorry, for a series of a lot of QR codes, including the answer key which I'm giving today, also QR code. Yeah, so it's a lot of QR codes. Okay, so I shall give you a short while more first, since you're like all very busy typing. Hmm. Hmm. Oh, I haven't seen the form yet. Level, I think you should fill in as Sec 3 because this is a 2026 class. Yeah, so you fill in Sec 3 instead. But no worries, like even if you fill in wrongly, when the overmark admin reach out to you, and then if you want tuition, you can still tell them, oh sorry, I fill in the form wrongly, it should be which level. Yeah. So just to choke lah, to secure your free gift. Okay, I move on to the next slide. No worries, if you miss, then later I can come back and show you the QR code again. Okay, so then next is if you are interested in overmark tuition, this is a schedule for next year. It's out already. So for our physical slots in our tuition class, as you can see, I got limited number of chairs. For regular lesson, it won't be so packed. Today is because free lesson, that's why like it's more squeezy. Regular class, it is a fixed number of slots. So this would be the classes shown. So it's first come first serve. Of course, if you want to attend physically, you register early, you can secure that class slot that you want. Then you register late subject to availability. Yeah, so if you're interested to sign up for Sec 3 tuition next year, so these are the different location and time. So you want, you can scan this QR code. A lot of QR code. Yeah, you can scan this QR code again. Then that's where you can see the entire information about the classes next year. This is just sciences. Let me show you more. So if you are interested in math and English, this is also same website actually. It's the same QR code. Yeah, so it's also where you can find the this one. Yeah. Okay, then if you are in IP stream, then IP classes will be over here. Yep. So we actually have designated IP classes, but it will mainly be held in, as you can see, Bukit Timah and Novena lah majority, but we still have some at other locations. But if you find that Bukit Timah, Novena very inconvenient, if you want to have it at other location, right, you can try to gather your friends. As long as there's big group enough of your friends to start a new class, then Overmark can actually check with the admin to see whether is it possible to get a teacher to start a new class with you all. So it is possible to start a new class of your own school. That's why for us, we are very popular for IP, for NYGH. That's why we actually can have big enough classes to be NYGH class. That's why we have NYGH classes. Yeah. Okay, so then next is, yes, the answer key that I promised you. Can you make sure you scan and download and save it, okay? So that you can have the answer key to check the answer for your worksheet. Yep, so that's all for today. So hope you all have benefited from the lesson today and managed to like clarify some concepts that you didn't know, and then some exam techniques like you see I was teaching you cache, bash, mash, and then like the answering technique. Yeah, then like the resultant force zero, but actually zero resultant force and got resultant force, actually objects are still moving, but then like it's moving at different speed. Yeah, like that. Okay, so done. That's all for today. So sorry, can we take like a group like video? I do a video, I will just pan around, then you'll just like post, then after that I will dismiss you already lah. Okay, just a quick one. Yeah. Thank you. Okay, so I start from here, okay? We just go in one round. Okay, so stand by, okay? Just wave at the like that will do lah. Okay? Yeah, so I start from here already. Yeah, say hi already. Hi. Okay, can. Thank you, people. Yep. So that's all then. Thank you. Bye-bye. For those online, you can stay back. I'll answer your question after I distribute the full set.